Welcome, everyone. Oh my, it's getting nice and close. And welcome to Convince an Atheist, the show where we are talking to theists to see they can tell us what they believe in, and more preferably, why. But the topics have yet to come because we are headed into some fun on Convince an Atheist. Welcome, everyone. It is good to be back. I hope you are all doing well. I have only a few minutes before the event gets started. I may push it to, let me change this event. I'm looking at Discord trying to make sure because I want to doesn't matter. Let me say hello to everybody. And then let's chat for a few minutes, and then let's have some theist fun. So I'm just going to talk. Well, I forget. Let's see, I'm getting all ahead of myself. Like, follow, subscribe. Please don't forget to hit that bell icon to all so that you can see our premieres and join our live stream so I can say hello to all of you. Like, what is up, Beautiful Joe? What is up, Pragmatic Crystal? What is up, everybody? See, I'm fighting between the urge to do the intro and to chat. Let's chat. It's been a while since we've been on. It's actually been over a week now, and that's for a multitude of reasons. I will say the slowing of content has been mostly an Amy problem. Mostly it's because my life got more complex and I had more responsibilities, and so I wanted to meet them. Now, I am very bad at multitasking and trying to do many things at the same time, yet I do anyway. And so my ADD has unfortunately blocked me, especially with utilizing time management. I will also say there has always been an underlying problem of how long it takes me to get ready for a podcast, to put my face on and all that. And I think the solution moving forward for some of the content, not all, but some of it, is to just do it as audio only, to not have your camera on. I think that there's a lot of high quality content like that. And so I think that won't be a big change. I like being on and being able to see people's faces and people to see my face. I'm a very visual comic. I like my props. But at the same time, I think it has, in some ways, slowed things down because I always measure, do I want to put the 30 minutes, the 40 minutes? And I should, but you get hammered from other things in life, and then that makes it harder. Nonetheless, the Skeptic and Ranting community, this podcast, and all of you out there who I consider my friends and family are very important to me. And it's been an unfortunate juggle that I want to get better at. What's up, Dave Rogers? Now, this is a two-pronged thing because I could talk about my wrongs for days. As proud as I am of who I am, I need to conquer some of these problems to become a better producer so that we get a more vibrant community, a growing community, and lots of fun content. I will move on to the other thing, which is, It's not unusual for me to do Convince an Atheist or these type of shows by myself. However, I'm trying to think how to word this. Unfortunately, James is not here. How should I say this? Either I don't know if by choice or not choice. Because unfortunately, he has gone MIA on. Well, I shouldn't say MIA. How should I word this? I'm worried that he's in a poor situation. If we last tuned in, James was moving. He did have to move in with family. I unfortunately think our religious family. I don't know much about his parents. And I know that Gizmo was in like kind of an iffy situation, and I feel guilty for not now trying and get Gizmo and help James, because as of right now I have no real way of contacting him. Like I do, but he hasn't been responding. I've been sending Discords and Gmails, and I don't know if that's because of I don't think it's because of a big upset between me and him. I think that it's a life thing. And so, I mean, I have my biological brother, but James is my brother. As close to another brother as I am going to get. And so I don't want prayers, because we all know where that goes, but hope and metaphorical well wishes and just us trying to be there for him if there ends up being any way that we can support him. So James, if you can hear this and you get to watch this, I love you. I hope that you are in a good space. I hope I'm overreacting, that it's not this big thing or something's not been a big change. Maybe it's just as simple as, an internet thing. So yes, those are my two things that I have to put on the table, because I want to continue to make content and continue to make a community for you guys, gals, and everyone in between. And I know this is generally a comedy podcast, and within the first 9 minutes, there has not been a lot of chuckles. But I had to get those things off my chest. I want to do more content. I think there's going to be a mixture of me going on the cam content and doing facial reactions and stuff, and me just going into Discord and arguing with people. But I think that is a more productive route. Thank you all. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, everybody. And all right, in a second, we're going to get into the meat of the topic. We have come here to be convinced by an atheist. Maybe I should have done its own thing. Nonetheless, I'm very comfy with going in there and talking with my theist friends. So I guess this is the way that I express it. I'm not sure about arguing on Discord. Well, and I'll tell you, I unfortunately have put energy into arguing in Discord chat, and I love Discord chat, all right? I'm very active on a lot of these, and yet I feel like the more productive thing is to go into VC, get some good content, have some fun. It's more cathartic for me. I think it's more cathartic for the audience. And so But all right, let's get ready because I don't want to be. I set an event, even though I don't think anyone's even signed up for it. But let's get us in there, and some people will come, or I'll just keep on ranting, and I'll get into the topics of the day. Always new religious arguments. The new religious arguments are the old religious arguments, but they have a shiny new gloss of paint, and so you don't even notice that it has no wheels. Let's get down here. Start event, but then let's also move it over here so all of you guys and gals can see. I'm going to share my screen. Hello, hello, hello. But it may take a second. Oh, I have to set all my stuff. And I may have to also write something. Maybe try and lure some theists in as we start to get the ball rolling again. What's up, Maya? Oh, it is so good to see you all. Does she know? That's right. The sun is indeed up. I will say I do have to still, as a vampire, get my necessary amount of blood. As an atheist, take some of my victims and throw them into volcanoes. I think that's how you still stay an atheist. I forget how you keep the card. No wheels, but it's still a car. Indeed. What's up, Captain Butt? You may actually hear me type here so that I can try and lure them in. I know that when we do it with Randolph and Taco and T-Jump and everyone, it is very busy. But who am I but a humble little atheist? All right. Convince an atheist. I'll just put it in general, and they will probably tell me to go myself, but that's okay. That's where the love is. That's the theist love. How are you all doing today? I can at least talk to you all while I am waiting for people to come down here. And I have missed being back on. Oh my goodness. I have things to talk about. Just random things into the void. But I have my off again, on again relationship with Brett Keane. I love you, Brett. I'll never go away. But I saw him trying to say goodbye to his channel. And he has a very weird ultimatum. All right? The ultimatum is that if, and not to get political, political warning. It says if Trump loses, he's deleting his channel. That's confusing to me because I thought that his was a religious channel. But that's because he's selling himself sometimes as a Christian. He is literally selling Bibles. But, you know, it's just a weird thing to sell because they're generally given out. I know you can buy fancy versions. I'm sure if I went on Amazon, there's some silver encrusted whatever. But a widely known free product. Gotta make money. Steaks and bakes for dinners. Who's in? Woo! Oh, I hear a cat. I actually had steak for lunch. A cat. This is a weird month because there are 3 birthdays in this household, and with my niece, it's 4. 4 birthdays. This is basically like Chris Mahana Kwanzaa. I spend so much money in this month. Mm-hmm. Moonlight's actually well trained. He will not. Well, generally doesn't eat Buttercup's food, which I always. You're gonna jump up here. Oh, wonderful. Sure, nothing will go wrong. Okay. Once had that during a debate. You never want a cat jumping on during a debate. Oh, they might be afraid. I'll tell you what. I'm going to set a timer, though, because we don't want to be here forever. And if someone doesn't come in a little bit, 15, 20 minutes, maybe we'll export our atheism and we will go hunting around the discords. In fairness to them, I put up a 30-minute warning that this was happening because that's kind of my procrastination. Yes, I agree, Michael. Not to get political, I'll say the same thing. I am against him not because of anti-conservative or anti-Republican. Whatever party or platform you think you are, it's not that. It's because he's a con artist. And I generally get, well, all politicians are con artists. And I'm like, well, I thought he was the outsider. You know, he's the guy that tells it like it is. And now he's lying? And now he's like all the other politicians? Well, then what's the shtick? Woo! Not to date this episode, but I do hope that she wins. If you disagree, I still don't hate you. I actually think that the Trump supporters are victims. Once again, they probably view that as a condescending, look down upon viewpoint. However, he has no real views. Like what I'll often tell people is, ask people who believe in Trump, do you think that he cares that illegal immigrants come over? That's like the big thing. Do you think that he cares about gay marriage? Do you think he cares about your blue-collar job? No. If anyone was looking for the key at the bottom, the answer was no. Then, what's up, Shane? Woo! Sending so much love. Feels so good to see you all again. And I will try not to have that bit of a lapse again. I guess now you all kind of know the mix of reasons. I can't really, it's really two-pronged. I can't pretend that my underlying procrastination has not always been there since I was in special ed. Good times. They always had the same advice, and it was good advice. They stood over me, and they're like, Amy, you just need to write things down. And I'm like, that's silly. That will never work. And then you look at the number one tip. They're like, the number one tip that every millionaire and billionaire says. Write things down. What do they know? Yes, he probably wants to pardon himself. Not to keep on interlacing in politics. He's the reason I'm political, though. Like, not to be openly embarrassed about it. I should have voted. I had 2 or 3 elections that I could have voted in, and I was one of the. I was like, your vote doesn't matter. Whatever, man. I have gotten feared into taking politics seriously because, as I have learned, if you do not care about politics, Politics cares about you. Makes things complicated. Because I want to be an objective person, as feelings-based as I am. I want to sit here and be little science lady. Politics is such a hard thing because it's... My joke is politics is just another word for opinion. I think there are better opinions than others. That being said, that's why at least in the research that I've done, there are things that seem to work. But objective? I don't know about that. What is up, all? It is great to see you. I'm trying to wrangle people in. And if not, can Allah do anything? My goodness, that's a good one. Politics, convince me you're Christian. Convince me in Christianity or Islam. Oh, that's probably a friend there. But I wish they would just come on down to have some fun. What's up, Big Bad Mama? I saw praise I am that I am doing Cuss. I just don't get it. The other thing is I'm convinced Trump is an atheist. And like to them, they probably view that as an insult. I have to admit that begrudgingly. I mean, I think the first agnostic president was Obama. I am convinced because both of his parents were agnostic. They always try and glom on the Islam thing, but if you read the biography of both of his parents, they're like, yeah, they both met each other in college, where that's known for, fundamentalist religion. But hey, and I don't know anything about Kamala's religious background. Knew that Biden was a Catholic. Oh, here we have a bite. Why, hello, Catholic traditionists. Or at least I imagine, because that's kind of his thing. All right, boys, girls, everyone in between. It begins.
Hello there. Can I be heard? Am I coming in loud and clear?
Yes, you are. How are you?
Hello. The thing is, you're already convinced that God exists. God's revealed that you already know that he exists.
Sure. But I view that as a contradiction because I know very specifically the Christian God doesn't exist. So we'd have to figure out why you think that I know something that I say the opposite of.
Well, what you do know is that there is a God that's been revealed to you. It's written upon your very conscience and being. And you know that God, with regards to right and wrong, imposed those laws with regards to right and wrong.
Sure.
You know that you're going to have to answer to that God, because that too has been written upon your very conscience. So
can I at least respond to some of that?
Sure, go ahead.
Sure. I very specifically know there is no creator God, because the only creators that we know of, at least currently, are animals. And so something drastically different, like a God, would need to be proven because it's not intuitive to me.
No, it is, because God's already revealed that everybody, that has the ability of knowledge has the knowledge that God exists, and through natural revelation and the knowledge of good and evil. So the thing is, with regards to divine revelation, with regards to knowing that this is the Christian God, that would come through divine revelation. And so it would make sense.
God? I don't think there's any creator. In fact, I think there's good evidence there is no creator. So why do you think that there's a creator? Or why do you think that I think that there's a creator?
Oh, what evidence is there that there's not a creator?
Sure. So at least right now, the only creators that we know of are animals, the only branch of life. And so it would be very odd. It would be counterintuitive to physics and chemistry to have something so complex, a creator making choices. Choices need time and space. And so this type of being, it seems nonsensical. It seems impossible. And so I don't know. Do you have any evidence for it?
Animals, huh? You have any pets?
I do.
So your pets created the galaxies, all the stars in the universe,
No,
the
that's
heavens
that's
out
the
there, the
opposite
entire
of what I'm
universe itself.
saying. That's the opposite. So creations are artificial. So when you say stars, that's natural. So saying a cat created the universe is kind of like saying a human or a god would create a universe. They're on equal footing.
Well, you're the one that just claimed that it's not God, that it's animals that created everything. So since the universe itself came into being, and with regards to its very nature, there has to be something imposing and instantiating it. So are you going to claim that that's animals?
No, but do you understand when I mean created everything? I mean all of the artificial things. So not planets that form naturally because they weren't created. That's an equivocation fallacy.
Are you artificial?
I am not.
Okay, so ultimately, there must be something other than you that created everything else, right?
That is a
And by the way,
contradiction to what I just said. Just
and
be clear.
by the way, in order for you to create anything, then those components must exist in the universe for you to create it, right?
Yes. So the first thing was a contradiction that you said. The second thing was a fact.
What was the contradiction?
So we can't have some sort of creation of us. If we're natural, there wouldn't be something at the beginning that created us. It means that some natural process formed us, and billions of years later, the first creations existed. Creation doesn't seem to be fundamental to the universe.
How did you determine that God didn't create the natural universe?
Because it makes no sense. It's illogical. It goes against everything that we currently see in chemistry, physics, biology.
Oh, show me in science where it definitely shows that there's not a God that created the universe.
Sure. So once again, the only creators that we know are animals. Can you name another creator except the thing that you're trying to prove besides animals?
So now you're back to animals creating the universe? Oh wow. I thought we were past that.
That is a contradiction of what I was saying. Can you at least admit that there is no creator in the universe in my world?
In your world? In your worldview, your atheist worldview, yeah, it's a not God worldview that you have. Yeah.
Okay. See, hey, we are already made inroads from where we begun.
Okay, so you have a not God worldview. And your worldview is wrong because there is a creator, God, and he went ahead and made it known to you that he exists. So even though you make a claim that you hold this worldview that there's not a God, you know deep down inside there is. God has already revealed that you know deep down inside that there is.
Does that come from a human-made and inspired book called the Bible?
Well, it comes from the very fact that every human being knows that God exists, even before there was a Bible. So I knew that God exists, even before I knew that there was a Bible or a church. And you knew that. Everybody else knew that. So when the Bible actually was revealed to us, then it would all make sense. Oh, okay, well, God went ahead and revealed himself to mankind at some point in history, which would make sense since God is the creator of the universe and he's the one that made you and me.
See, but now you're just going back to that's what I secretly believe. So how can you prove that you're secretly not an atheist, that you're just claiming to be a theist, but it's actually been revealed by a higher intelligence that there is no creator of the universe?
Yeah, the fact of the matter is, with regards to there being a God, it's really quite simple. We see that the universe itself cannot be unless there's a God. See, you can't hold to your position that the universe is just natural, that there's no God involved in the universe, because the universe itself is informational. And in order for it to be informational, then it has to require intelligibility. In order for it to require intelligibility with regards to its characteristics of information, that would require logic. Do you agree that logic, well, let me ask you this, with regards to logic, is it a concrete thing or an abstract thing?
That's a good question. The laws of logic right now are tautologies that we use just to show that we're not crazy. Everything is it is, isn't what it isn't, and can't be and not be at the same time.
Okay, so I'm still waiting for an answer to my question. Is it a concrete thing or an abstract thing?
I'm not sure.
Do you know whether or not a mind is required in order for logic itself to exist?
Well, a mind isn't required for physics, chemistry, and biology to exist. And so it would be logical reasoning that doesn't exist without us. However, our brains, our minds, consciousness, these are not fundamental things to the universe.
Okay, so then you're making the claim that with regards to the fundamental things of the universe, then the laws of logic do apply to those fundamental things, correct?
Sure. I mean, everything is what it is, isn't what it isn't, and can't be and not be at the same time. I'm okay with that applying to everything.
Awesome. So why is it that the universe operates based on the laws of logic?
Because anything else would be crazy.
Well, hold on. The laws of logic are conceptualizations in our mind. Why is it that the universe conforms to that which is of our mind?
Because they're tautologies. They say the same thing over. Are you saying why saying the same thing over matches?
What I'm saying is the universe itself seems to conform to conceptualizations or ideas of the mind. Why? Why doesn't it surpass our conceptualizations with regards to logic?
It doesn't. We tend to be very frail creatures that can only live on a very specific piece of land, and that's where minds, brains, and animals. If we try to leave anywhere but Earth, minds, brains, consciousness, gone.
And that doesn't answer my question. I asked you, why doesn't the universe go outside of the conceptualizations that we have in our mind?
Why doesn't it? I don't really understand your question.
Why does it conform to the very conceptualizations that we have with regards to logic? Why is that?
Because they are, once again, are you asking why everything is? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying there's two things in this equation. There's the world outside of your mind and there's your mind. Why is it that the world outside of your mind somehow operates in such a way that corresponds to the very conceptualizations of logic that's within your own mind? Why doesn't it behave in such a way where it does not conform to the conceptualizations in your mind?
Our mind does not have a perfect concept of the world. It's trying, by using sensory data, to understand the world the best that it can.
Okay. And now, with regards to your claim that the laws of logic exist outside of the mind, can you prove that?
Yes, they're tautologies. Everything that is. Without minds, we know factually that there were no.
Why are you raising your voice? Why are you mad?
I didn't think that I was. I think I was being passionate. But you are my brother. I love you.
So you believe there's things outside of your mind. Can you prove it?
As in, like, in a solipsistic way, or like in a verifiable?
You just made a claim. Prove that there's things outside of your mind. Back up your claim.
We can prove things to blind people.
No, hold on. You said we. You're not a we. You're not the Borg. You're not the Borg, are you, from Star Trek? You're an individual, correct? Okay, so since you're an individual, you would have to say I, myself, stuff like that.
Let me rephrase it.
If you want to be a she, her, even though that's not what you are, you can do that as well.
I mean, hey, your God's not a he, him, but you call him a father.
Okay, so you can't say we because you're not like the Borg, and I'm only addressing you. So with regards to you, back up your claim that there's an outside world outside of your mind. Let's hear it.
Sure. Science can prove to blind people who can't see anything.
What is the definition of science? What is the definition of science?
A peer review process, a community that is able to test.
Well, hold on. You don't know that you're invoking something that you're claiming is outside of your mind to prove that there's something outside of your mind.
Indeed, the best process we have.
No. How do you know that there's scientists?
In fact,
How do you know they even? How do you know? Well, hold on. How do you know that scientists exist outside of your mind?
Because we can verifiably prove them. Also, it's
How?
weird.
Well, hold on. How would you verifiably prove it? By something else that's outside of your mind?
Yes. Once again, you seem to be putting the mind as like the top level, and yet the mind can be easily tricked. So science is one of the ways that we get around that.
No, you have to prove that scientists exist, that they're actually outside of your mind.
Yeah.
Prove it.
Once again, we can prove to blind.
No, there's no we. There's only you. Again, there's only you. You're not a Borg. So, okay. So
when I mean we, I mean science.
No, you have to. If you're going to invoke science, then you're going to have to make the case that scientists actually exist outside of your mind. Go ahead.
So, who am I talking to when I go out and I, go and I buy maybe a hamburger, or I talk with people?
Okay. Do you talk to people in your dreams?
Sometimes, but a lot of times it's incoherent. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't follow the laws of logic. Things can,
Okay. So let's say that you have two mindsets. One where you're talking to people where it doesn't seem to follow the laws of logic, and another mindset where you're still within yourself, within your own mind, and it does seem to follow the laws of logic. Okay. None of that proves that there's an outside world outside of your mind. So again, prove to me that there's a world outside of your mind.
But I just said, I'm going to go through all these ways, and yet each time it feels like you're just going to deny them. So can I ask that the only way
you can't, the reason you can't back up your claim is because in your atheistic worldview, you cannot know things to be true. Whereas in the Christian worldview, we can know things to be true because God has revealed that these things are true.
All right, we're in Wendy's. How do you figure out how much a burger is using Christianity?
Yes, because since I know that there's an outside world outside of my own mind, I can know that an outside world is true because God has revealed that an outside world is true. With regards to your atheistic worldview, you cannot know that there's an outside world outside of your mind, even though you claim there is.
So how? Come on. How do you get the price of a burger at Wendy's? Let's go. Christianity. Hop, hop.
Well, let me put it this way. You can know that there's an outside world outside of your mind, but you can't justify how it is that you know that.
Okay. How would you know that your wife isn't cheating on you using Christianity?
Yeah, I just told you that with regards, you're asking me stupid questions. I just told you how it is that a Christian can know that there is a world outside of themselves and justify their knowledge. In your atheistic worldview, even though you may know that there's a world outside of your own mind, you are unable to justify it. And I just proved that you're unable to justify it because every single time you've attempted to justify it, you weren't able to justify it.
Sure. So can I say that this is a projection and that Christianity is not actually able to solve anything but solipsistic questions that don't apply in the real world? So if you wanted to figure out how much a burger was at Wendy's, you could use my scientific verifiable.
There you go. You're raising your voice again. I don't know why you're getting so angry.
You could use my scientific verifiable route. And this is why religion actually doesn't lead to truth. It's why faith can't lead to truth.
Yeah, well, here's the deal. With regards to reality itself, the universe is informational. It has characteristics about itself. That's based on logic. Logic is of the mind. So that means that even if you and I didn't exist, there wasn't any humans, that universe itself would still be dependent upon a mind. That mind is the mind of God. There's no way to get around it. Right. So I urge you to accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, accept him into your heart, repent of your sin of homosexuality and transgenderism and whatever other sins you have. And I'll say a prayer for you that you accept Christianity, because I don't want you to go to hell. I don't want you to burn for all eternity and be separated from the one true God, the God that's all loving, perfect, and wants you to be with him in heaven. But he'll honor your choice. If you say no to him, he'll honor that choice. He's not going to force himself on you, but you have to accept him. You have to go ahead and accept him and trust in him, in what he did in paying the price for your sins and atoning for your sins.
It's just very hard for me to understand Christianity. I know Adam and Eve didn't exist, so there's no original sin. So there's really no reason for Jesus to be sacrificed. Sacrificial logic is horrible. The fact that God tried to, or did, murder his son is horrible. There was no reason for God to forgive us because we didn't do anything wrong to begin with. And if it was something that he disliked, he should have gotten over it really quickly and not thrown his kids out on the porch.
Okay. Everything you just said, that's a demon that's speaking through you right now. So I'm going to go ahead and leave now and say a prayer for you that you repent of your terrible evils. Goodbye.
Thank you. I still love you, my brother. I will say that I always ask for demonic powers, and it never seems to actually come by. Anyway, we have more people. I was not paying attention to who was next. Let's see. Hopefully it'll tell me. Oh, it does. Okay. I think CW and then Buzzard. But yeah.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm an atheist just like you. And I don't know if you remember me at all, but I remember you as a person.
I probably would. I have a terrible memory and ADD,
That's okay.
but I'm a feelings-based person.
You don't have to remember me. I'm just some guy out here on the interwebs. But yeah, no, like what he was saying was just absolutely not true. Like you just let him get away with a ton of logic fallacies. And as someone who I think tries to argue from that like logical point of view, I think that you allowed him to run kind of roughshod over your opinion in a way that you shouldn't allow that. I think you are really putting up a good faith argument, but then people will say something that you don't know, and you go, "Well, I don't know about that," and then they just like run over you. It's horrible. I don't want to see that. I want you to be like prepared.
I will say the only time I said I don't know was with the logic being concrete or abstract. And when you don't know something, it is actually the proper thing to do is to say, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you. Yeah, if you don't know something, you should just say, I don't know. Like, I agree. You should be honest. You should be an honest person. The problem is that most of these interlocutors aren't honest people. They're trying to find the weakest point of your argument and then like claw into it and try to make it your downfall. And so when honesty fails, you have to just be more prepared. I think that your honesty was, I mean, it was very on display. I don't think anything was wrong that you said. I just think that the rhetoric of what he was saying and what you said to engage with him after he had already made multiple logical fallacies, you just engaged with him anyway. I think that was, yeah, it's kind of a hard place to argue from. You know, you're basically conceding from the start.
Yes, I kind of understand what you're saying. I thought that actually went pretty well in that he was getting frustrated. Maybe I read that wrong, but I feel like I'm a good counter to presups because they are used to going down specific routes, and I either answer and then what I try to do is ask them a question and I would say I try to put their logic to the test. But I get what you're saying. Sometimes I am too nice and they gish gallop. I sometimes let people talk longer than they should. That I will definitely grant you.
No, I mean, I don't think that conversation wasn't without merit. I think that conversation was, he was saying certain things that were absolutely illogical, even by his own worldview. And you didn't point them out. You were just listening. But it's obvious that he like kind of threw you off the deep end. This is what precepts tend to try to do, is go, okay, well, I know this philosophical thing. Do you know about this? Okay, you don't. Okay, perfect. Then now I'm going to throw you off the deep end, and I'm just going to make you completely out of your depth. Go ahead.
Can I ask for an example that you thought was bad?
Yeah, okay, yeah. Let me go back into the chat. Hold on. Because I was chatting with you the whole time. Creation isn't fundamental to the universe. You said that creation is fundamental to the universe.
Creation is not fundamental to the universe. Yes.
No, it's not. I disagree. I disagree with that. I think creation is fundamental to the universe. We are created. We are part of the universe. I think it is fundamental. So what would you say to that?
I don't know how to. So creations are artificial. And so it would be a misuse of the term creation.
What do you mean by artificial? So imagine that I'm giving you the best possible. Go ahead.
Sure. So they're made by animals. So an example would be a fork, but also a bird's nest or a dam made by a beaver. But humans don't create. They form via sex naturally. And so trying to say that it's a creation, I actually think is ceding ground to them.
Interesting. So I don't know. I have a son, so I think that like I created my son with my sperm, but I don't think that like I have control over him or anything about, and I can't just end that creation. As far as like the art argument goes, I don't think I can just like kill him and be that. Well, it was my creation. I don't think that. However, I do think that like part of my genetic makeup created my son.
I would say that would be a misuse of the word creation. Be using like the word theory in the same way that lay people use theory to say that's just a theory. So you could say,
so well, but I'm not. I'm using the word creation in a way that you disagree with, and so I would just really question, what do you mean by creation?
Sure, creation is something artificial. So if it is grapes,
well, I think that's gonna immediately.
Natural. If it is,
I think that's well. Can nothing natural create? Is there no natural creation?
Can nothing natural things do create? We're natural, and so we do. But
absolutely, animals. Yeah, no, absolutely. But you said creation is artificial.
Yes, it's an
artificial natural.
No, it's the opposite of natural. It's literally
then I guess I have a problem with that. In that, I think that we can naturally create. We can procreate. I think that's natural creation.
And that's a formation. You're forming humans. You're not creating humans.
Okay. What's the difference between formation and creation to you?
So formation means natural. So stars form, strawberries form, humans form, forks are created, computers are created, leashes are created, dogs are formed.
No, I like that delineation. Yeah, okay. I'm with you there. I like that. So isn't that more of a category error than it is a contradiction? It's a category error. We're talking about things that are formed versus things that are created. And then we need to really understand what we mean by creation and what we mean by formed. Sure. Right?
And it also means why it doesn't make sense for a God to be at the beginning of the universe. Because for most of the universe, as far as we can tell, there were no creations. And then
correct me if I'm wrong. correct me if I'm wrong, but
Okay.
doesn't the Bible say that God formed the universe? He didn't create the universe. He formed it into what it is.
He may have. I'm not actually. That's one of those. Don't quote me on it. I have to look.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, as far as like when people colloquially talk about creation, I actually I understand and appreciate your distinction between creation and formation. I agree with that. Whereas creation is a product of a mind, formation is a product of nature. Would that be
Exactly.
correct?
Yeah, and that's the difference. If you,
Yeah.
it sounds weird to say that strawberries form naturally, but it takes us. Ooh, did I go? Oh, I didn't go away. But it separates us from like, well, this was made from artificial things. This is a strawberry drink that was created by science.
But we can create things not through science. We can create art
Oh,
not through any
I
science,
would say
right?
that not only would
We
I
can create something new that didn't exist before,
I agree.
right? It
But
didn't exist before. We have a new thing. We created it. It wasn't through science. It wasn't through anything. I can put paint on a canvas. And it's a new thing.
yes,
Now, am I a good artist? The answer is no. But did I create a new thing? Yeah, I did. I created that. That's kind of how we use language. Now, what you're saying is that that's not. You're saying that's artificial. I don't know that it's artificial. It could be natural.
creation and artificial, I would say, are very similar. Can I give you the example? I agree with you. Just as when an elephant puts a paintbrush on the canvas, they are making something artificial. They're making something a creation. It is sometimes loosely defined, artificial and creation, to be human, but it's really within biology. It means these creatures. So a river dam, that a beaver has actually gone out, they have collected materials, and they are creating an artificial dam to live in.
Sure. I mean, like I just spent the past 2 years of my life building an apartment building.
Yes,
It's really
exactly. A creation.
I created that apartment building, but I also it wasn't artificial. It's real. It's there now. But yeah, there is a sort of creation, I guess, in the way that we use language colloquially. That it didn't exist before, it exists now.
I agree. In fact, with a house, you could say we are using natural supplies because the
Absolutely.
supplies form, they grow, but then we are making an artificial house, a creation.
So you would say that's like a formation of an apartment building from
Not so.
existing materials.
The trees formed, the supplies formed, but once we cut it down and we sand it and we paint it, well, that's a creation. That's an artificial house.
Okay. So what do you think about this? I'm also an atheist, by the way, but like this is just kind of curiosity. What do you think about like the universe? Don't you think that it would be formed down from the creation of raw materials?
Well, this is where, and I think not you, but creationists are doing an equivocation fallacy. Because if we say that, if we make formation and creation the same word, then it becomes, well, doesn't everything have a creation? But no, generally, when it comes to natural laws, when we look at the sun, we say not was a creator, because a creator implies whom. We say, how did it form? We go gravity, because gravity is the thing that formed it. So is the universe
sure, but like you do understand, like when you're talking to a creationist ever,
sure,
right, that they're asking about like the base level, beyond the sun's formation, beyond everything. How did the universe exist? I don't know, right? And you don't know. And the creationist doesn't know. The creationist says, well, I know God, and God is the reason, right? And so what you're trying to convince them out of is special pleading, kind of. Like you're trying to convince them out of that. But
you had a but. I feel bad.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
I agree with you, but they're talking about two specific times. They're talking about when did life happen? Because I'm always like, I ask them this, and then they go, okay, because we get into abiogenesis. And then, yes, you're right. It's what happens before the Big Bang. Can I tell you, did the universe form or was it created? I don't have an answer for you. What I can say is, to me, it would be very, very weird if it was a creator, because it would mean there was a creator at the beginning and then there was just natural formation for a long, 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 long time. No complex anything. And then, boom, within the past billion years or whatever, we finally have creations. It would be a weird sandwich instead of what looks like a natural progression.
Well, I think to a Christian, I'm sorry for playing devil's advocate, but I think I have to right now. I think to a Christian, the natural progression is the progression that you're speaking of.
Well,
I think
that
that is
depends.
to a Christian. They go, okay, well, God exists. That's not up for debate, right? Like that's what a creationist would say. God exists. He created everything, and then it took whatever path it took afterwards. Like, and so to point out specific points on that path it took, and say, well, this disproves the origin of that path. I think that's going to fall on deaf ears to a creationist. I think that you really have to look at potentially, because the precepts just kind of make this a fool's argument.
Look at it.
But you got to look at the fundamentals of what it is that they're saying.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, not to say I don't look down completely on precept, but precept tends to be this almost lawyer approach to trying to deal with people who disagree. In fact, the only reason I think I was able to get Catholic traditionists sending so much love to him off his script is because a lot of times when I answer questions, I also have a tail end answer, like ask a question. When I'm dealing with people like Darth and all of that, it's always, one more question down the line. One more question. Just wait one more. And then 18
The Catholic traditionalists did say, like, you know in your heart that God exists, and there's nothing that'll convince me otherwise. He did say that right before he left. He just relied on the precept, basically saying, I presuppose that you know God exists and that you're a liar.
But see,
it's very hard. It's very hard, I think, to like break people out of that sort of idea.
Sure. Well, two things. One, not always, and I'm actually guilty of not applying this, but you're supposed to not want to completely convince the person. You're trying to, but it's often you're talking to the audience who may be on the fence. But sure. I feel like I got under his skin because when the low brow ad hominem start, like the going to gender and sinning and stuff like that, I always feel like something got under their skin. Once again, I didn't want to get under his skin. I want to have good conversations, but I feel like he got frustrated. Who knows?
Well, I mean, I think there comes a certain point where you're like, yeah, let's go for it. Let's just go to the heart of the argument. And I don't know why people aren't honest from the get-go on getting to the heart of the argument. They bring those out when they feel like they've lost. I agree with that.
Indeed. Well,
there's some other people with their hands up, so
yeah, it's
okay. I just wanted to talk to you about like your rhetoric and the way that you were discussing these things, but I feel like we did that.
Yep, I appreciate that, and I think we had a good conversation. Is there anything else that you want to say, CW, before we go on?
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, that's just a final word, and then I'm gonna probably put you back down, and we're gonna bring Buzzard up.
Let's do it.
All right, CW. It was lovely talking with you, and
you as well.
Yeah. All right, we are going to. It was a good conversation. I like talking to other atheists.
Except, right? Something.
What's up, Buzzard?
Right. I'll start off by saying I haven't listen. I wasn't here all the time. As you could say. So if I do re-mention a point, that's my apologies for that.
That's okay.
I just come here to ask sort of two main questions, and then we can just flow from that, see where it goes, if anywhere.
Cheesecake and long walks. No. Go to.
What do you say?
I said cheesecake and long walks. I'm just kidding.
Huh.
Continue.
First question. You know, human life as a whole is very complicated, right? Humans are complicated beings. We're complex and complicated, right? You know, we've got our own emotions, feelings. You know, even if you ignore all that, biologically, we're very, very complex, right? You can agree with me with that, right?
I agree. Humans are complex individuals.
Yeah. So my question is, how does that happen on accident? You know, because my understanding of natural selection makes me think that, you know, every mutation is an accident. Every sort of generation has a slight chance of having an accident, air quotes, like an accident that works out for the future of that species. How does that happen? You know, how does that happen so many times? Do we get from, you know, cells? Do we become cells to what we are today, which are extremely complicated beings?
Sure. So the short answer to complexity is complexity often measures something over a long period of time. So systems get more complex as we work on them. We need to handle more complex things as cities get bigger. And so it's not really a fundamental of intelligence, as in systems tend to get more complicated the more time and energy that we put into this. In fact, and before I answer the other question, when it comes to design, very specifically, we're often looking for simplicity. Not always, but you want a simple way to get in your car. You want a simple way to turn on your computer. You don't want to have to solve a Rubik's Cube just to turn on your computer. And so we're constantly not retailing. How should I say this? We're constantly taking complicated things and trying to remake them simple. But then to answer your other question, how do accidents, in this case, gene mutations over time, how do they eventually get us to something as complex as us? And that is through two different mechanisms. You first need mutations, that is the accidents, but then you need some sort of selector. And when we think of selector, we often think, oh, sorry, my phone is, give me 1 second.
That's all right.
There we go. It's my lovely mom, but I'll call her back. We often think of selectors as people, but it's actually, in this case, a force. And I can separate that out in a few ways. You have natural selection, which is true. We also have artificial selection when we're doing it in a lab or just on a farm. And then we have things like sexual selection. It is actually unadvantageous for male peacocks to have such pretty feathers. It draws attention and is not good when you're trying to avoid hunters. Why do they have it? Because females find it pretty. And so they have selected over the generations peacocks that have prettier and prettier tails. This happens in numerous species, often with natural. A very random way I can explain it, to speak of random mutation. You can imagine a tribe of people that are just living near the beach. You can imagine maybe one or two of them has a random mutation for web feet and web hands. Now, normally, this gives no benefit. And yet, slowly but surely, it could be, not saying it is, but could be selected for to give an advantage when swimming. This is the way that things happen when butterflies or moths just go into the forest and they have green skin versus blue skin. And there's lots of forest trees that cover them up and they end up living. And so it's these forces that are not creator forces, and yet they're forces that are working on these accidents that over hundreds of thousands, millions, if not billions of years just become very complex systems.
Yeah, just to add on what you said there about sort of adaptations was sort of my sort of thing. How now you can very well correct me if I'm wrong here, but have we actually seen evolution happen? Have we seen natural selection happen in real time? Because from my knowledge, anyway, we haven't. And yes, we see today animals and plants are adapted to their environment, but you could just say you could use that and say, oh, God created, or not God, but a creator, you made that animal adapt to such environment. You can perfectly correct me if I'm wrong now, but
yes, in fact, I will say, before I give the two examples I was going to give, the one that actually comes straight off my head is Darwin's finches, where he was trying to collect different beaks and show that there are different mutations, each one actually on different islands, made just for that island. And yet there's two examples I would use. Naturally, we have seen fruit fly evolution. Fruit flies have such a high turnover rate that we can watch their evolution in real time. And then dogs are our creation. They would not exist if not for humans. And there's actually a dead intermediate species between dogs and wolves that no longer exists. And the tricky part is that there's no great there's a great animation. Let me think how to word this. Is that it's not very exciting to say, well, this fruit fly went to another fruit fly and now they can't mate. Or this dog looks different than this dog. However, evolution works very slowly and through gradual changes. And so you don't see a grand metamorphosis of a dog giving birth to something drastically different. What happens is there originally was a wolf, and now we have chihuahuas.
Yeah, right, okay. Yeah, well, that was sort of the first question I wanted to ask. Second question is more on sort of, I suppose, about the Bible itself, as opposed to, the apostles, right? You know who they were.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All of them. Well, John, a few others, can't remember off the top of my head. They all saw Jesus die, right? We can agree to that. Well, maybe not, but they all saw Jesus die.
I'm perfectly fine with granting you they saw Jesus die.
Yeah. And, well, I believe, you might not, but I believe that they also saw Jesus get resurrected.
There's the rub, yes.
Yeah. However, a thing that gets me is that I can understand your point. So, right, let me backtrack here. So you believe that none of the apostles saw Jesus die, right? Get resurrected even.
Yes. So it's complicated because I forget the exact saying, but what liar, lunatic, Lord, I think is how it goes.
Right.
I think there's one other one which starts with a W and is just wrong. Because lying includes intent, as in like we knew otherwise and now we're trying to deceive you. I don't know if they saw a Jesus or not, if they hallucinated, if it was whisper down the lane and it became more embellished as the time went on. Could be all of these things. Or it could be that, yes, he was resurrected. I think that's the least likely of all of the explanations we can come up with, but I understand that's what you believe.
Right. So, okay, so, yeah, obviously there's conflict of agreement there. So, my point is that all of the apostles got, instead of, using the word of God to, spread, spread their influence and become rich and wealthy and live happy lives, all of them now, got executed, some in very brutal ways. Peter and Bartholomew. Well, Peter got crucified upside down. Bartholomew
Can I
got
pause you
whipped.
for 1 second?
Yeah.
Because I do know. And listen, crucifixion is a horrible way to die.
Yeah.
But can I tell you why them going to their death is not going to be any more fulfilling to me?
You see, sorry. Go on ahead. Sorry.
Because if I think that's the point. Maybe it wasn't the point, but they went to their death believing that he was resurrected. They could have lived rich, wonderful, otherwise happy lives, and yet they're dying for something they think is true. I want to give you an opposite example, even though you think this person is morally repugnant, okay? And yet, in my eyes, it is a mirror thing, all right? Bin Laden was a very rich man. He was formally educated in the West and could have lived a wonderfully happy life. And yet he gave up the Bin Laden family, or the Laden family, so that he could, in essence, go in caves, live a spiritual religious life, and then sent martyrs who believed, because I know we view it, especially here in the West, I think the atheists and Christians agree this is morally repugnant, but from their eyes, they really did view themselves as martyrs dying for a cause they thought was right.
But the thing is, Bin Laden, okay, that wasn't necessarily a religious issue. Yes, Bin Laden used religion, but it was more of a political thing than religion. Islam was.
Can I pause you for 1 second? If you've talked with Muslims, they always say the same thing. You can't separate the both. Anytime, I think we in the West are very easily to separate out the two. I think there's even a quote in the Bible, "Let Caesar be Caesar's." I don't know if that's the same true of Islam.
I don't know much about Islam and its theory and whatever. But the point I was making is that all of the apostles, not all of the apostles were there, but all of them died. So, in your view, they died for something they know is false, they know is a lie, which does not happen and which has never happened before in history.
But this is what I'm saying. This is where I have to separate lying out from being wrong. How do you not know that they just weren't really convinced and wrong? That they actually went to their death thinking Jesus resurrected when he didn't? Let me pull up the actual verses here.
See if I can find it. There's John was skeptical, right? So he was skeptical that he saw Jesus in front of him. But it's like, he ate a fish or something. Like, Jesus took a fish out of the water and ate it. Or, not out of the water, but he took a fish and ate it. And, that's not, unless they're really, really mentally insane, that just doesn't happen. And instead of, as I say, spreading influence, becoming rich and wealthy, they died for something they otherwise would know as a fact to be false, right? I get people have been misled through history, but 12 people saw the exact same thing, and not one of them fell to greed. Not one of them used it to spread wealth, influence, whatever. Not one of them became greedy because of it. They all died for their faith.
But what is more likely? That they were convinced of something and went to death for beliefs, or that they actually saw someone resurrect from the dead?
What? See, hold on. Sorry, could you repeat that? I was having audio issues there.
Sure. It's just we sometimes, as I'm going to preface it this time.
Okay.
Sometimes atheists, we make up things. We talk about aliens. We talk about things, and the theists are always like, "Well, that's so silly. You're just going out of your way." And I always say, "But isn't that more logical because it's natural than the craziest supernatural explanation, or the craziest natural explanation still makes more sense than a supernatural answer, which to me makes more sense, or to you, that there were people that went to their death because they saw something but might have been wrong, or that there was a man who defied the laws of physics and resurrected from the dead.
Yeah, but all of the apostles, right, saw. I know I'm repeating myself. All the apostles,
Okay.
they saw the body of Christ. They saw, you know.
Wait, can I pause you?
Yeah.
Because Saul/Paul, I'll give him by his real name. Me of all people can't criticize, but Saul. Wait, no, his new name was Paul. I just did it backwards. Gee. But Paul never saw Jesus. In fact, Paul saw Jesus 50 years after Jesus was supposedly dead and resurrected.
Paul. Sorry, hold on a second.
No, you're good. I think I'm right? Saul became Paul, Damascus, road experience, all this stuff.
Saul? Paul? Oh, Paul?
He was...
sorry, yeah.
How the story goes is he was... he disliked Christians, or he persecuted Christians, and then the crazy thing is now he's the big person pushing it. I jokingly call it Pollyanity. I know there are the Gospels and everything else, but he seems to be the big pusher, especially moving it towards non-Jews.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's just it. I personally, whether you might disagree, that's fine. But I personally myself find it quite unconvincing that 12 people had the same hallucination or vision, whatever you want to call it, right? And they all took that and got persecuted and executed for it. I just find that very difficult to believe that not one of them tried to become successful.
I think that's the power of religion. I really do. I think that it can make people do things that would otherwise seem crazy. Not like, and I mean that in a non-insult way. That ways that you would see it too in other religions.
Yeah. It's again, it's a very difficult thing to describe. Again, I'm quite new to Christianity. I'm not overly versed in it and the theory of it. But this has never happened anywhere in history that people died for something they knew to be false. It's never happened.
See, but you keep on.
You can get
if they knew
misled.
It was false. But see, if they knew it was false.
Yeah.
See, I feel like that would be something almost of an atheist. If they knew it was false, that means they were almost con artists. They were basically saying, we know this ain't real. But it makes way more sense to me that they had faith. I'm not really a big fan of faith. and thus I think it leads to this. I think also, just to keep on attaching it to Islam, no offense, but when you remove the fear of death, this is what happens. If you think that you are going to live on after you die, then why even be afraid that you're about to die? The only thing you have to fear is these fleshly emotions.
I would honestly argue that the opposite would be true. If you don't believe that, if you believe that what happens after you die, does not change regardless of if you are good, bad. It gives no reason to be good to people, right?
See, but that, first of all, I disagree, but that's a separate issue. Do you think that someone who thought that they were this was the one and only life they had, do you think they would lie to die for Jesus?
Well, but why would they lie about something?
Well, I mean, this is why I go out of my way to say I don't think they were lying. I take them at their word for it. I think that they did see Jesus resurrect, and I think that Jesus did not resurrect.
Yeah.
That's how I parse that.
So you think they all had the exact same hallucination, basically?
I mean, it gets muddy. We get into who the authors were, who they actually are, what the actual hallucination is. Some of the Bible is a retelling of stories, like the Gospels. In essence, the first three are very similar, although they're retellings. And then John gets a little weird. Who is the actual authoritative version?
Yeah, well, mistranslations of the Bible exist, right? There are heretical versions of the Bible, and I would say there's a pretty decent chance that at some point there's been severe mistranslations that have just been spread about the place, right? I do believe that could have happened at some point. Where that happened, I don't know. What was I was going to say something there, but I absolutely lost myself.
That's okay.
Typical.
Well, and can I ask, because now I'm getting some from the other audience members, and we actually have had a good conversation. So maybe instead, I'm going to hand it over to you for a final thought.
A final thought? Well, obviously I didn't change your opinion. You're still a hardline atheist. That's perfectly fine. You didn't change my opinion. I think that I still think what I said holds some value to it. Yeah, sorry, that's what I was going to say. Even if Jesus wasn't resurrected, right? They still saw plenty of miracles he did, right? Turn water to wine, walking on water, feeding the 5,000, sorry, 100,000, can't remember. They still saw plenty of those miracles done in person, in person, and they obviously saw that and took it as something they actually saw.
And I'm going to agree to disagree, but I enjoyed the conversation.
Agree. Yeah, I joined too. I know you don't really believe in God, but God bless you anyway. And
thank you, Buzzer. I hope you have a good night.
Yeah, me too.
And all right, I will say, I see you talking, bot, in chat. Technically speaking, I can't see their name, but they are they, them in the gold icon is next. I can ask them if that's okay with them. I have streamer mode on, so I can't actually see their name. That's okay? All right. All right, I'll bring you up, bot, and then we'll bring them up, and then I see Alexander, your name too.
Hi. Okay. I'm not going to necessarily try to convince you that God is real or anything, but I just want to say atheism is a faith like any religion. And you can't, okay, so you can't prove God doesn't exist with the current like scientific knowledge that we have about the world right now. Like, do you agree with that?
So atheism is not a religion, it's a lack of religion.
No, but you to believe in atheism, you need to have faith in a theory that's not completely proven.
I'm sorry. Say, hold on once. Now I feel bad. She said, or they said, I thought I was going to be brought up. I thought you were saying yes, as in bring him up. Give me just 1 second. Oh, you are okay with it. Okay, just give me one more person and then you'll be brought up. No, you're fine. I just want to make sure everyone's happy. All right, I'm sorry, bot. What was the you'll be next though, they, and then I use their pronoun. That's so terrible. I can't actually see. I'm going to call you I. Bot. What were you just
so
saying? I'm so sorry.
So how do you think like the universe was created and how we came to this planet?
I do not believe that we were created. I believe that the farthest back we could go is the Big Bang, with the singularity having space, but you only have A. You can't go A to B, you can't go A to C. And so with the Big Bang, you have the expansion of time. We have now space-time. We know about the right before it exploded. That's about as far much, I think, the Planck time that we can go through. But then after that, we get into just the fact the universe was hydrogen, helium, a little bit of lithium. Hydrogen coalesces, the first stars turn on. We then eventually get the star deaths. The giant stars explode. These bigger stars are supernova, and they form new galaxies and solar systems, which now have heavier elements, including ones like ours. Within a Goldilocks zone of some of those solar systems, you're going to have the ability for some of those to form life. And so that's where abiogenesis happens and evolution takes over on the rest.
Okay, yeah, but I can name like a few problems with the Big Bang Theory that not even like scientists with a PhD can answer. And also, this doesn't
But
account
he can.
for how these things before the Big Bang came into existence. And like, so I'll just go on and name a couple of these things. Like, if the Big Bang were to happen, the universe is relatively, it's not completely two-dimensional, but it is three-dimensional. But on the large scale of the universe, it is somewhat two-dimensional. Compare like if you just compare like the three dimensions. So that's just something that even scientists can't explain. Another thing is it doesn't explain the origin of like dark energy, dark matter, and it doesn't explain if the reason that there's significantly more matter than antimatter. So they're just like, and there are definitely a lot of other things that I don't even know about myself, and just due to like these unanswerable things about the theory, I just think believing in it is having as much faith in it as believing in a religion.
Sure. So dark energy and dark matter are driven from what we already know. So dark energy is the energy that is pushing everything out. It seems to be applying with Hubble's law, and everything seems to be moving and moving and moving faster and faster away. We thought it was going to slow down, and it's not. And then dark matter seems to help galaxies form and seems to be coalescing around supermassive black holes. We know both things exist. We interact with them in weird ways, hence the term dark. but it's not a faith-based position. It's something that we've kind of been driven to, and we have placeholders just because we know they exist and don't know 100% what they are.
Okay. I mean, as long as you just understand that, I guess. As long as you understand that it's not completely perfect, like it's not a completely proven thing, you know?
I mean, I think that's the great thing about science is it generally works at the ends of our knowledge base. We're trying, those are the exciting fields. And there's going to be a lot of mysteries. And every time we learn something, it's probably going to create 2 questions.
Yep. All right. Anyway, that's all I really wanted to say.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you, Bot.
Yep.
All right. Gonna bring this person up. I feel really bad because probably I can't help a good call out. But how are you?
I'm good. Is my microphone coming through well?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great. Yeah, this is the
What's
first
up,
time I've done
everyone
one
in
of these stage
chat?
things, and the last time I spoke here, I got like ripped apart by some Christian guys. So it's nice to see a actually constructive debate or discussion that isn't just like relentless name calling. But yeah, anyways, I guess when I'm hearing you speak, and I guess when I'm hearing about atheism, which is not, I was in that at one point, and I essentially, to give background, grew up. I am still in the Protestant South, and I mean, if anybody checks it, I'm a part of the queer community. I grew up being ostracized and ousted by people who were Christian, but I never exactly understood what Christianity was, and in that process, I scorned religion completely and became a radical atheist only under like a reactionary context.
Baby.
Like I only hated religion so much because of the way I was treated. So when I started studying religion and getting into spirituality, the angle I ended up approaching it from was more from a practical and functionalist, I suppose, perspective on how religion and spirituality affects us as people and how we proceed with the knowledge of spirituality. Like when I'm trying to judge a person who is spiritual, I mean, I find it quite impossible to engage in the discussions that you just engaged with, which concern I see in your roles that you're a physicalist. Physical arguments about the quote unquote, scientific legitimacy of religion. So I can commend and find it really interesting that you do that. But I find it almost somewhat pointless because it, at the end of the day, comes down to faith, and faith is an inherently a rational thing. It's not rational at all. And that doesn't mean it's a negative thing to be irrational. It's just something that is, spiritual beyond the physical plane of existence, so to speak. So when approaching things, because I heard you say that faith will propel people to do things that are, not necessarily abhorrent, but absurd or crazy, such as death.
And can I just very specifically, because I don't disagree, it's faith mixed with thinking that you're going to have a life after death. But yes.
But I don't think that specifically will cause that. I feel like it's actually quite rare for people to do that, even in the scope of new religions, which is where I've studied. I've recorded interviews with and I'm going to interview Waco survivors, for example, and I spoke to a professor. But anyways, the behavioral impulse, which is what I was going to get into, is what gets people to do this. Like you mentioned how that would cause people to instigate tragedies, but I feel some of the most modern genocides and tragedies have been perpetuated by secular institutions. Such as the Holocaust and the Nazi Party.
Shit, I hate to be the one to break it, but yes, the Nazi Party was officially a Christian party. They had allies both within the Protestant and Catholic Church. Hitler may have been, I'm sorry, TOS, I love you, may have been a secret pagan, but the one thing they weren't is atheists.
I guess that's fair. I was looking into the history of the Reichschurch, for example, which was a Christo-fascist institution, but I'm not necessarily sure if the mentality of the Nazi Party and the people of the Nazi Party was necessarily geared towards religion, but more so the idea that they were an exalted race. And the massacres instigated by scientists in concentration camps, for example, were based on quote unquote science. Do you have anything to say to that, for example,
Sure.
or any?
Well, two things. One, the at least lay population was very Christian. It's why they had God mit uns on their belt, God with us on their belt buckles. And then science is a great way to do anything, whether you want to be good or bad. And so it's not surprising that they used it. What is sad is that they use the pseudoscience that is eugenics and racialism to weed out people that they just disagreed with and made a political ideology, yes, where they were able to murder them. But the thing I push back on is just mostly they looked very much at the communists as the atheists.
Yeah, and when you look at, I guess, institutions like the CCP or the USSR, which were extremely secular and also committed mass, tragedies and massacres, the same behavioral impulses towards death were present in those that you would see during spiritual communities. So in my perspective, it's not necessarily that faith uniquely causes this. It's a culmination of factors that will influence how the beliefs are utilized in a community. Like, for example, if you have a leader, you have something to say?
Oh, no, but it sounded like you were in the middle of something. So I have ADD. Okay. I have to hold myself back sometimes.
No, me too. It's okay. And I'm recovering from COVID, so this is interesting. Anyways, like a combination of factors with an organization, and there's a professor who's worked with members of what quote unquote cults, but I don't even think that word is a actually beneficial term or label. Oh, wow. But in his studies, he uses something called high control groups, which is a model of how a group is controlling and treating its individuals on a behavioral basis, not necessarily entwined with the beliefs themselves. It's how the beliefs function. For example, a organization that is controlling and misleading people, saying, we're going to give your money back to the church, so donate to us, or God will be extremely happy if you donate $1 million. And then that actually funds a private jet for the pastor and not actually the church. That would be manipulative and misleading, but not necessarily because of the faith in it. It's the motives and behaviors of the people within that church, because realistically, somebody who owned a scientific institution who says we're going to send this money to fund our scientific research could do the exact same thing. So
I want to just agree and disagree on certain points. So I agree that the USSR was a dictatorship that was atheist. What I will say is there has never been so far a secular dictatorship. And what I separate secular and atheist is atheist means we do not believe in God. Secular means we do not care whether you believe in God. And that is the country that we live in right now.
Okay. That makes sense. Thanks for clearing that up.
Yeah.
Is there anything else beyond that?
Yeah, actually, let me just push back on, not push back, but also maybe talk and connect on your first point. Because if you do have, I think we all go through an angry, quote unquote, angry atheist stage. I think because many of us have felt like we were lied to, like we weren't having people be intellectually honest to us. And so it causes us to have this disdain. I think that most of us get over and cool down when we understand the situations and that, even our parents are people and things like this. Yeah. And what I think is dangerous about staying in sort of an angry stage is it does lead you open to theists who are nice. And that is to say that if our view of other people and theists is that they're evil, mean people, they're just trying to do bad things, and they're stupid or something like this, what it means is when we find theists who are intellectually honest and nice to us, that means that we can just fall into what they believe in, whether or not it is logically true, but because it defies our expectations. I thought these Christians were just gay haters, and now here is this pastor in like a rainbow schmuck that's telling me that it's okay. And so, yes, it is true. I like and almost support the liberal theists that want to push politically for, good causes. I would just separate out that we want to intellectually have good reasons whether we are a theist or an atheist, and we do that through being a skeptic.
Yeah, sure. No, I totally agree on that. But that's an interesting point you mentioned. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of why I don't even, I think Satanism is kind of reactionary, and so I've never, I mean, I was at one point, but I kind of find it at this point just a little not, because when I'm thinking about a spiritual impulse, and it's not just necessarily saying these people are okay because they treat me nice, because I mean I was at a Baptist church that my sister started going to, and of course over time she started having certain behavioral changes, but they were, nice upon welcoming you, but over time, and this is the sort of strategy that is extremely manipulative, and what I'm against and call out is when they start trying to fearmonger you, they start trying to do things that are not ethical behaviorally. They're not scaring people into something, no matter what it is coercion. So when coercion comes into play, I can't remember what the exact word is, but coercive control. That's when you should be like, yeah, I don't know about that. But regarding spirituality, the way I see it is sort of a means of staying innocent within your mind and believing things that may not inherently be logical, but believe them for whatever purpose it performs in your life. Because when you're trying to say, for example, that God exists, and I'm sure there are people who would push back on this. It's not completely logical. There's nothing we can say that would prove that. And the arguments we're going to form are going to, in my opinion, at some point just be kind of flimsy, and you should at just some point own it and be like, yeah, I believe in God, but it's serving a good purpose in my life. I'm not using this to walk over other people. Because when you believe in God only to say to yourself, when I die, I'm going to heaven, I feel like you have an empty spiritual impulse. You're not doing it to seek a higher purpose, to expand your consciousness, or to really develop who you are. It's a linear path that is just supposed to secure you in something that is true instantly when you hear it and when you get back.
It's a reward.
Yeah, a reward, exactly. And I mean, I don't like that, but when I'm criticizing it, I can't just, say, okay, I'm going to debate all of these arguments and debunk them, because in some cases, I mean, even just like you just saw, when you try and try and try, it gets literally nowhere. So when trying to get into these discussions, I feel like trying to maybe see how it serves a purpose in their life. Like, for example, in the case of my sister, I mean, I see her getting exhausted. I see her being scared that she would, for example, start crying every night, and be afraid that we were going to hell and she was going to be the only one from our family who she loves going there. You want to start saying, like, is this like, does that make you happy? Like, oh, are you every night crying? Like, how does that make you feel? So engaging in this personal, intimate regards of how it affects a believer.
And that's one of the reasons why I'm not a big fan of hell. I understand why Christians they come at it from we're giving people justice, but somehow it always ends up, at least from my perspective, a horror show. You can, I'll let you respond to that if you want, but I also have one other thing. What I think you are doing is I think you're being pragmatic.
Yes, that's correct. I'm a pragmatic person.
And I mean, I understand why you would use something like this. I know that religion can sometimes build community. It can give people maybe a hope that they didn't otherwise have. Can I tell you why I worry about it? Is because from my view, it's also a house of cards. Is that it has benefits in them, and almost all of them come with double-edged swords.
Yeah. Sure, that's fair, but I feel like that's not something, once again, unique to religion. You can see that,
Sure.
I mean, when we talk about, atheist regimes, like, sure, okay, now we have a strong leader at the foot of our regime, but now he could potentially do whatever he wants. And now we have an institution with no checks and balances, and, so on and so forth. But when you build these things and try to, because what I would like, and of course, this is a very, big dream that is almost impossible, is to have a town or a city with a institution or a religious institution of any type on every single road. Where I live, there's about 6 Protestant churches. I'm not even joking, on every single, fucking road.
I
But
believe that.
the thing is, these people hate each other. Like, these churches who are Christians, I mean, they hate each other. And if
Can
we
I
could
pause
have
you for 1 second? I know you're about to give something really happy, but I've just found in my experience that other theists, and the closer they are to each other, the more they hate each other, like Sunni and Shia and Protestant and Catholic. And
I agree,
they
yes.
use us as a benchmark. I always love the phrase, even the atheists don't do it. I'm like, oh, even us.
Yes, it's very true. I agree. But if we could have a place where every single person can go or even, leave to a service and miss their Sunday service to learn something else, and then talk to their religious leader and exchange these thoughts, and even have the religious leader say, oh, okay, you don't want to come this Sunday, go there. And I think the way we could do that is by centering religion on what it should be, which is healthy spiritual impulse and a care and unity for humanity, not a disregard for humanity, like you see in a group like the JWs or the Adventists, who are so assured that tomorrow the world is going to end, so they get rid of all of their worldly possessions, and now they're all poor and they aren't going to college. And then this day in which the world is going to end, I mean, nothing happens. We need to avoid that and make sure when we're practicing spirituality, because as great, I mean, in your worldview, we should eventually, I'm guessing, never have it. We shouldn't have it. We need to find ways to do it healthily, because a view in which it does not exist is not possible. So when we try to sort of unify people and make people care for each other, I think a really good thing that could prevent the issues we face in spirituality is kind of having them exist within a vacuum that is synthesized with our physical existence. Like, science and religion does not have to be two things that are separate. They can be two things that exist to, conjoin and enhance each other. Doesn't mean they can't fear, but that means they coexist. So we can have. Okay, go ahead.
Oh no, I agree. So science and religion can coexist. Many of the things that the creationists, you can be a theist and believe in evolution and the Big Bang and all of this. What I stress and what I'm trying to push is that we just need alternatives to the good things of religion. So if religion helps build community, then we need alternatives to have community. Because I think I think charity, I think wanting to have meaning in life, these sort of things are very human, and I think that they are good, and I think that we can do them without framing it in once again, I hate to phrase it like this, but I have to. A guy watching us 24/7, 365, who cares what you put up the butt.
Yeah, I know, but that's a pretty, I feel like, straw man thing, because it's not just with religion. It isn't just about the, physical outcomes of like, oh, we have a community now because there's even individualized religion. It should be used to enhance and develop people and not necessarily keep them stuck in a loop with, like you said, and something that results in that. Like, I do agree there should be alternatives, but I don't necessarily, I kind of can't remember where I was at.
Well, if I could just say, because I think that where you thought I was straw man, I don't think that we should get rid of religion by force. I don't think that the way in which these dogmatic totalitarian regimes try to impress their non-religion on people, I think is highly unsuccessful and unethical. And so the only way, what's that?
I said you're also going to end up doing the same thing as these dogmatic churches. It's like a horseshoe theory type deal.
Sure. Well, sure. I'm not. I am politically. I'm kind of centrist to liberal anyway, and liberal worldwide I view as centrist. And so, like, I don't want to control your body, your mind. I don't want to tell you what you can or can't believe. But I also want to have alternatives. And once again, it doesn't have to be like the anti-We Hate Christianity club. It can be like, we all want to play Xbox. I'm really starting to date myself. I'm music guy. But you know what I mean.
Yes. No, I get it. And we should kind of view, in my sense, my thing is like, we should have a point in which we are practicing any faith where we can have an exit door. Like, think of a huge void, but there's a door at one part of it. And that's when you enter the void through that door, which can be a religion thing. It's so expansive and infinite and cosmic, and you can get lost in it. But you have a door at the end that says, when I'm getting too lost, and when I'm, in a mansion and not leaving the house, and my friends are telling me we're all going to kill ourselves to get to the next level, it's like, I don't know if I should do this, because it's no longer serving your purpose.
Don't drink the Kool-Aid.
Yes. And if we, as a just collective, could get out of our, I guess, root very basic impulses of us against them, of we're going to be destroyed, or I don't want to be with these people, I want to be chosen, and centered on, we need to work together as a species for our collective survival and cooperation, and that our differences don't need to divide us. I mean, we should be able to have discussions with people of other religious creeds actively, fluently, without insulting them, without delegitimizing them, and enhance us as a group. So that's sort of why I don't think that, from an atheist perspective, that religion is not beneficial, or it should be something that's looked down upon. We should start devising solutions in which we can practice it healthily and, move together as a society, as opposed to dividing and debunking. But in some cases, which you are doing, and I appreciate, debunking and debating the logic, which is unfortunately the only basis of that religious experience of being right, is something you have to do. So I can respect that.
Let me say one more thing, and then I think I'm going to hand it over to you for a final word, but it's been a great conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So I do not think that it is productive for my atheist, agnostic brothers and sisters to be condescending or to look down on our theist brothers and sisters. I know that sometimes we on both sides make snotty comments and things like this, but I think most of us on both sides of the fence are trying to come at this, to use lack of a better term, but from a good faith position, from an honest position. And so I think moving forward, we do have to look at the ways we agree with each other. I think it's very easy when I look at like my liberal theist friends, when we may disagree on an afterlife, and yet we seem more in a line in how we can help people in this life right now.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
so I'm happy with that and focused on that, at least in that area politically.
Yeah, no, and I agree. And for my final thing, I mean, because I see somebody
Sure.
insulting me, but anyways, just, yeah, try to, yeah, for anyone in here, don't go into a conversation just trying to disprove and debunk somebody. Try to think about how you two can move together and enhance your morals and cooperate in a society and benefit each other rather than just claiming, exaltation or, whatever thing. And from that point, devise solutions in which you can coexist and, debate or discuss your opinions in a well-rounded and respectful manner. Yeah, that's about it. Thank you.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you for coming up, and by all means, keep on coming for more good conversations.
Sure. Thank you.
And all right, I am gonna just actually I'll read the comment just, and then I'll put you down there aside. But it was DBK says, I was always an atheist. I've been called an angry atheist for being irritated at the theist persecution I faced from Christians since childhood. Sending so much love, DBK. Yeah, sometimes, unfortunately, we get viewed on from a negative light. But yeah, all right. I'm going to put you in a lovely conversation. I'm putting you back down. And then let's see who was in line. It looks like Alexander was next. So that's what we're going to do.
Hey, how's it going, Amy?
Pretty good. How are you?
Hang on 1 second. I gotta adjust my. There we go. All right. Just want to make sure I can hear you very good. So listen, I've been a long-time listener, first-time caller. I'm glad to be up here on your show. I'm calling out of Santa Barbara, California, currently stuck in this traffic. However, I would like to get to know more about your position as opposed to mine and the theist perspective, right? And I'm going to ask some questions to hopefully clarify where you stand on this. So do you believe that there is a possibility of a God, there just isn't enough evidence? Or do you completely rule out the existence of God?
So I call myself jokingly a medium atheist. I know that some of the gods don't exist, but I'm agnostic on the overall concept. There could be God concepts that are true that we'll never find on Earth, and the only, they find them on another planet.
Okay. That clears things up. Now from there, I'm going to ask, what would be a good threshold, a viable threshold of evidence for you to be convinced or moved on the existence of a God?
Well, I guess some of the powers that they claim to have would at least help me move in that direction. I often have a test that I, jokingly call the Gatorade test, which is very simply, I have a Gatorade bottle right in front of me, and all I need them to do is lift the bottle. It would seem that wouldn't be that hard of a task, at least for an all-powerful being. Does that mean if it was lifted that there is a God? No, but at least we're starting to communicate. We're starting to talk.
Okay. What I would say, and this isn't to be insulting, is that is a little bit juvenile, right? And I think it's kind of a joking matter. You said it yourself. It's not 100% serious. It's just a point to start. I think that's fair. However, when I think of a God, I don't think that he would care about a particularly insignificant little ball that we call Earth tucked in some corner of the universe, right?
Can I pause
If
you
the
for 1
universe-
second?
If the universe is truly that big, I don't think
guess
he would
not.
care about you specifically.
Sure. I mean, this is why I don't think God wants to have a personal relationship. It would be very odd that they would care about very specific humans, and it seems like something that's more human and less like a god.
Right. Exactly. Well, especially when you look at biblical prophecy and the discrepancies that you can find there, or the morality of God, assuming that the Bible is an inherent word of God. Would you agree with that?
I believe, yes, they believe that the Bible is the inherent word of God.
Okay. So, I believe that my faith in God is strung together with my conscious decision to follow what I believe. And the other half is the miracle of life, right? I can acknowledge that life is very rare and relatively insignificant when compared to the rest of the universe. However, I am still impressed by it for that exact reason. And you can tell me if you think there's a contradiction there.
Sure. I don't see it as a miracle of life. It makes a lot of sense to why life rose on a planet like this in a Goldilocks zone around the sun. It'd be more of a miracle if we were in some sort of hostile environment and then there was life. Or at least continued, because it actually was fairly volcanic. But as things started to cool, as things started to calm, life very quickly arose here.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is that it actually was very chaotic. Even you believe that. But you corrected yourself, so that's fine. Well, you don't think that life is a miracle? I mean, the way that we exist on Earth today? Am I getting that right?
Yes. No, I would say the word I would use is expected, not a miracle.
But you're not even particularly impressed.
I mean, we are one of the coolest chemical reactions in the universe, but it's not surprising to me that a place with liquid water and then an environment that isn't on fire or freezing is able to withstand life. It also isn't a surprise that we're carbon-based life forms because of how many chemical combinations and how vital carbon is as a chemical. The only thing I can think of besides that would be silicone.
Okay. Well, it is expected that life arise if living organisms are viable in that environment, is what you're saying. However, I mean, look at how far we've come, right? You and I in completely different environments. I'm in my car in Santa Barbara. You are where? What state?
I'm in DC.
Awesome. Technology, socialization, adaptation, evolution, all of these things can be scientifically explained. However, to me personally, I am impressed by that. I am moved by that, right? However, it's not the reason that I believe in God. And so, if we want to get to the bottom of that, we really can. But I was agnostic most of my life. And there is nothing you can do to justify this particular belief, right? Because my faith cannot be quantifiably measured. It is not empirically sound. And making a claim about something outside of our current reality goes against the scientific method. It is not applicable, right?
And if I will say, it was going to be the other thing that went with the Gatorade bottle, is that the best way to convince me is through empirical science. It's also the way that I would verify someone wasn't using a string to lift the bottle and things like that. But yes, I agree. I don't think this is an empirical measure.
Perfect. Then we don't disagree in that regard at all. And that's why I apply a different methodology, which is personal testimony, gut feeling, and a reference to my lived experience, right? And I've changed positions on this several times, but I think that this is the one. And so expecting physical, observable evidence from a relationship with a god to me does not make sense. It's like saying I would use empirical data to develop a relationship with my daughter, right? That's just not, I mean, you don't have to, right? Because you know that you can see your daughter and that is physical evidence, but the connection itself is something that you feel in your gut. It is automatic, unless you're a psychopath, right? But the instinct of you recognizing someone as your offspring, now I don't know if you have kids, but it is unreal, right? And that is the relationship that most people
It's very real.
who try to justify their belief in God feel through personal experience, miracles, witness testimony, whatever it may be, right? Maybe God communicated to them in a certain way. And I don't know what that means. I only know what my personal subjective experience is, right? Not other people's. Does that make sense to you at all?
It does. It's just that I'm highly skeptical. So, of personal testimony. Personal testimony can be manipulated, changed. Our memories are not that great. And so, although empirical evidence is not what religion tends to deal with, to be honest with you, I wish it would. Like, I wish...
Can you give me an example?
Absolutely. So I don't know if you're a Christian or not. You sound more like a high level, like a deist type of thing or a pantheist, but Christians believe that Jesus came down and saw Paul. And if you take the Bible literally, God was coming down all the friggin' time. And so those would have been empirical claims. Was the bush who spoke burning? These are things that would have physical answers. Once again, I don't know what type of theist you are, and so I don't know if it's... What kind of theist are you?
Well, I would say that I'm Catholic, but I'm totally open to your criticisms, right? I'm relatively open-minded, and I have transitioned to a Catholic for the first time in probably 13, 14 years, right? So I'm understanding of your concern here. Why the fuck are these people walking on the street? Sorry.
All good.
Anyways, I get it. Now let me address this.
Okay.
The problem with the Bible is because the problem with the Bible is that it's written by human beings. And you and I, in current society, both acknowledge that humans can be corrupt, they can be deceiving, and they can be selfish, greedy, all of these things, right? They have emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to pray to God directly. I cut the middleman out. If you're making a drug deal,
So he's a
and you
Protestant.
could help
I'm
but
just
go
teasing,
to directly the
I
source,
think.
why would you go to the middleman? Why would you go to the small-time drug dealer? It wouldn't make any sense.
Let them figure
Right,
it out.
which is why I pay very little attention and respect to religious institutions and establishments that don't pay taxes and are subject to a lot of respect from other theists that they're not going to get from me, right? I'm not going to walk into a church, get on my knees, and confess to another human being that claims to have the authority to accept my repentance. That does not make sense to me, right? So maybe you're dealing with a guy like me who's a little more unorthodox, and it's harder to attack these claims. I think for myself, but I believe in God, right? And if God truly exists, then he would allow me to exercise his free will. He would not condemn me for it.
Sure. I mean, the free will thing gets a little bit tricky, but I will always go with more heretical views than the other one. Just like I was talking about the last theist, I'd rather have the liberal. But it almost sounds like you are not a fundamentalist, but I don't know. Do you believe that there was a perfect man?
I believe that it's hard to put a label on me. Well, do I believe that there was a perfect man in what sense?
Well, I mean, that's a hard claim because I find the notion that anyone would be perfect to be silly. But then that's what
Well,
I get.
perfect is a subjective determination based on arbitrary moral standards, and that's kind of the conflict with describing perfect. But I assume what you mean is perfect as in almost flawless, right? Like his moral judgments are always based on logic, reason, consideration. He's never done anything particularly condemnable in the general eyes of what is good and bad. Something like that, right?
Yes. Maybe he's born with it. Maybe it's Jesus Christ.
No, not by my metric, no.
That was
Not
a
in
joke.
my
I'm going to let that go.
understanding of what that word
Maybelline.
means and what that would look like. No.
So he wasn't perfect. Or I mean, I look at the fig tree story. That's my new
wasn't. I
go-to.
believe he wasn't.
Okay. I mean, you're warming up. It's a much friendlier Christianity the far away that you go from Orthodox. But all I need you to do is say there's no God, and we're going to be good. I'm just teasing.
Yeah, well, if that was your claim, I would just say I don't know that to be true. Right. The beauty about being agnostic is that you can accept these two things. Theists and atheists are one and the same in that they make the same claim without substantial evidence, but the opposite, right?
I would say that atheists sometimes make a claim, but you just have to not believe in God.
Well, they make the claim that either there is no God or there is a God.
I would say they believe. You either believe there is a God or you don't believe there is a God. The problem with saying that there is that atheists are claiming that is because there's a lot of atheists. I would almost say the majority that if you ask them why they don't believe in the God, and they'll just say there's no good evidence. I don't know. I find agnostic atheist is actually the larger position. There's Gnostic atheists, but my cat says hi as well. But yeah, is there anything else that you wanted to go on to before we can maybe have a final thought? Oh, we might have lost you. I know you were there. There was something going on in real life, so I'm not going to blame you if something happened. Wait 30 seconds, and then we'll get B down here. I say B because I can't see your full name, so that must be the first letter. But that it's Bulls. And then that might be it for the night. But it has been fun. Oh, he said hang on. All right, I'm gonna put you down, Alexander, and then that sounds terrible. I'm gonna put you down in the audience, and then if you want, just re-raise your hand. But even if we don't talk again, it was still a good conversation, and we'll have more up here. All right. What is up?
Hello?
Hello, hello.
Yeah, I wasn't going to come up, but one of the earlier speakers kind of triggered me a little bit.
I know the feeling sometimes.
He brought up the 12 apostles, I think it was, that died for a lie or didn't die for a lie or whatever.
Yes.
Well, a lot of people have died for a lie. Just look at the terrorists who blow themselves up in the name of Allah. Look at the terrorists who ran
That was my point.
into
Yes.
a building on 9/11 with airplanes. You can look at the people who joined Jim Jones, and they all joined that cult and died for a lie.
Unfortunately.
So it's not uncommon that people die for a lie. They get convinced of things that are not true, and you can die as a result of that. On top of that, I don't know if you are familiar with this channel on YouTube. I think it's called Dark Matter 2525.
I am indeed. He does great animations. Can I actually just ask you, are you an atheist?
Of course. Yeah,
All
I
right,
really-
fantastic. Then I'm gonna be listening to you, and I'm gonna be right back for one moment. That's great. I need someone to hold the stage. Talk for a second.
What? I wasn't planning on doing any hosting. I was just coming up here to talk about that one guy.
Oh no, keep on talking. I just have to pee. You're fine.
What? Yeah, so Dark Matter 2525, he has a video on the 12 apostles that claim they died for, they actually died confessing that they saw Jesus rose again from the dead or whatever. Well, some of those are unconfirmed deaths. They're not even accepted by the church. The text which claims how they were killed aren't even accepted by the church itself. Some of them died of natural causes, and then some of the stories, if you look into the text, they don't make any sense themselves. And I just wanted you to go ahead and look at that video, so the next time someone brings that argument up, you can have better arguments against it instead of just going along and agreeing that these 12 apostles died for Jesus or whatever. Because some of them died because a king killed them because they were eyeing their daughter or whatever. So like they all didn't die because of they were professing for Jesus. Some of them have, but all 12 of them didn't die specifically because of them being Christians. Did Amy leave? Can you hear me, Amy?
Yes, I can. I'm sorry. I have headphones that can go with me, and I agree. So I am agnostic as to whether they believe or they didn't believe. I could probably be convinced either direction, but it wouldn't surprise me that there were extenuating situations and circumstances going on, whether all 12 of them actually believed it or not. And that's why I was also trying to convince him it could have been lying. It could have been they really
like
did
for example,
believe.
I think
It could have
that
been either.
John died of natural causes. I think he was one of the apostles. Is it John or Paul? Let me see. Yeah, like it was John died of natural causes. So right there, that's one person who he wasn't even crucified for his beliefs.
And it doesn't add any weight. Just like you were saying, even though, I mean, we view the 9/11 disaster as a tragedy, but in some radical fundamentalist Islamic circles, it was a good thing. And that, I think, is the danger of religion.
Yeah, but I don't think I can post in this channel or whatever, so I'm just going to tell you to check out Dark Matter 2525. He has
Have you guys ever heard of
on
him?
this.
I
It's
think
like
he's a
45
small
minutes
little
long, explaining how some of the stories of how these 12 apostles died don't even make sense. Some of them are just copying a death. Some of the stories are identical to how other apostles died. So they're just literally copying the story and saying it happened to another apostle. It's just.
I'm also sending the link, not in chat, but in my YouTube. I'll send it out.
Did you find it?
Yes, Dark Matter.
Okay.
small little channel, you guys. I want you.
Yeah, so
we
if
need to
you don't believe me,
support
you can
our
just check out
little
the video
tiny
and just
atheist
fact check what he
community
says in
here.
the video.
Little channel.
Some of these aren't even accepted by the church.
Let's get him a
so
URL.
why would you be arguing for things that isn't accepted by the people who created the religion itself? You know, it doesn't make sense to use this as an argument because we know people die for lies all the time.
Indeed.
But that's all I wanted to say. I guess since I'm on here, I'm going to tell everybody to go vegan, but you're probably not, so who cares?
I'm in a weird position. I am morally, I want to be vegan, and
You don't think you could do
emotionally,
it,
I
though?
suck at it. Yes, I think I
Well, I
would
mean-
die outside of a McDonald's if I went
Well,
to
let
another
me
country.
ask you a question. Do you think that it's immoral for someone to intentionally
So you don't have to convince me because I'm already there. I'm already a hypocrite on this one subject.
so you agree with veganism, you just don't think you could adhere to it?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I don't know what to say if that's your position.
Oh, trust me, neither does my stomach. It's like vegetables, please, in us.
Well, there's a bunch of
At least
YouTube
once a
channels
day.
and blogs on the Googles. You can just search for recipes that you like, and it'll show you how to make those recipes without having to use animal
Include
products.
steak.
I mean, because like the thing is there's no part of an animal that's shaped like a sausage or a slice of bologna.
Oh, let's not go into sausage. I learned what
or
sausage
a
was.
burger. We take these animals, we chop them up, we grind them, and we shape them into shapes that fit the recipes that we want to keep. So you can do those with plant products as opposed to the flesh of an animal. So, and I think if you want people to respect your rights, you should also respect the rights of other sentient beings, not just ones that are considered to be human beings. So, all right, that's all I got to say. I got to go finish doing my dishes and stuff.
But it was good bringing you up.
Yep, have a good one.
And all right, I said they were going to be the last, but that was a quick one. Let's just go through two more. Can't help myself, though. I really can't go past 7:30. Well, one of them dropped off. See, that helps. I'm sorry. I love you. So we're just going to invert this person.
Hello.
Hello.
I won't be very long because it looks like you're out of time. I just noticed the topic, convince an atheist. I would like to convince an atheist. Would you be that atheist?
I would be that atheist.
Would you be in agreement with me that Jesus did not fulfill the prophecies of the Old Testament adequately?
I believe when it comes to the Messiah that he did not fulfill them, yes.
And I think the majority actually believe that. And even though there's a lot of traditions saying that he did, the arguments don't hold up if they exist at all. It's just basically blind faith. Just believe, even though it doesn't make sense and it doesn't add up. Just believe, or else, right? You got to do it. You got to do it. Well, the Bible has prophecies for a reason. One who fulfills these prophecies in all these extensive detail. That's like a statistical impossibility. Well, what if one person fulfills everyone side by side comparing to Jesus, fulfills every single one of these prophecies as much, if not more, mostly more, than Jesus compared side by side, and let's make the stakes even higher, fulfills the prophecies of every religion from every corner, all their messianic prophecies, all at the same time, from every single corner, with no contradiction between them all. I claim to be able to fulfill them all. I have piles of evidence on this, and it's available for anyone who wants to engage me in private or public or whatever. I have extensive coverage of this. Either I'm telling the truth, I'm a liar, crazy, or whatever. I claim to have evidence, and it's up to people if they want to look at that evidence or not. If it just in the premise that this was true and I do fulfill these prophecies to a massive statistical impossibility, would you and others, audience, be willing to consider the possibility, not just that I could be that Messiah, but those who believe that Jesus is a Messiah under your premises, for those who do believe, do you hold me to the same standard as evidence as Jesus, or do you acting in blind faith because the Bible requires you to act according to scientific methodology to test all claimants? to test them against the prophecies instead of just blindly believing in the tradition.
Sure.
Thank you.
It would have to be something that I think could be verified by other non-religious means. I'm not a big fan of prophecy because they are post-diction. It's looking in the past and trying to say that I knew what this meant or knew what was going to happen after it happened. And so I'm more interested in predictions. That is, something is going to happen in the future, and I know it because of insert thing. Now, it could be that you have some amazing prophecy. I just, it's really weird to me. I'll give you my example.
I didn't say one, I meant every corner.
Sure, but I'll give you an example.
Including what you're asking.
I'll give you an example. Who is the Jewish prophet? Well, if you look within the prophecy and see how it was filled, then my joke is, then the UN is the Jewish prophet, because they are the ones who gave the Jews their land back. And yet, I guess that doesn't seem to work really well for the Jews or the Christians or anyone else. They still seem to be waiting for other people to show up.
Well, I'd say that the Jews are right that Jesus wasn't Messiah, but they're not the chosen people, and that's objectively easily proven.
Sure. I mean, there are no chosen people. And if any God ever tells you that you are the chosen people, run.
Well, the biblical prophecies refer to a specific genetic people. They're chosen for something that's misconstrued. Nonetheless, there is a chosen people of the Bible, and whether you're Christian, Muslim, or Jew, they all follow the gist of the Old Testament narrative about this chosen people. Many people claim to be those people, but they can't prove it.
So sorry for them.
But the people who today call themselves Jews are, the Christian version of these, at least with the Book of Revelation, etc., denounce these people and say that they're imposters. I just add one simple thing to prove who those genetic people are. Anyone can look this up right now. Look at the color of King David's hair. It was in fact red. It's well known to be red. He was red hair, white skin, the same people of Scotland and Northern Ireland today. And look at these people who are calling themselves Jews today. Do they have red hair and white skin? Only a tiny number of them.
I was going to say, I was raised with someone, my best friend was Jew and had red hair.
Yes, but they're not, like 99.9% of these people, basically, like Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, Avi Yamini, all these people are a completely different, separate people. They're not the same people.
I'm just trying to comprehend this. Are you trying to say that the people of the North,
Abrahamic,
I'll just correct. Of the desert?
Let's just say the Abrahamic people. The Abrahamic genetic lines, right?
Oh, well, I call them the Canaanites. Very specifically, the Jews used to be the Canaanites, and then they broke off from
would
the
that include David? King David and his line?
It might.
No. Well, Esau went. Esau went to mix with other people. That's where he went to mix with the Canaanites.
Can I ask? Is this the Kaiser? I know you don't want to be called a conspiracy theory, so you can ignore the word conspiracy between it.
What do you mean, Kaiser?
As in, who are the Jews then?
They're a guild of thieves, pirates. They're not actually a genetic people. There's all different genetic groups within them. If you look at different, basically they started as people who, like, you look at Arabs. They actually started as Arabs, basically a division of the twin of the Arab. So basically, Arabs are, if you look at the term, it means abandoned child from interracial crossbreeding who've been abandoned by both their parents and who wanders the desert aimlessly looting caravans to survive. That's what an Arab is, and that's what Jews were. They were just the same thing. So they just went into different branches. And this group, and they're not at one genetic group. They don't have a genetic group. They mix with all kinds of things. They're actually crossbreed, so they don't actually have.
Are you saying the Irish are the chosen people?
The Scottish and Northern Ireland, not the Irish, the Scottish and Northern Ireland. The redhead.
It is a literal no true Scotsman.
Oh, if you look at this, I'll give you this. You ever wondered why all these royalties around the world, they claim their authority not just simply from votes, but some kind of divine ancient lineage, right? And it's all actually connected to King David's throne. If you ever wondered why all royalty and stuff, they walk on red carpet, it's the reason. It's because of red hair. They walk in the heritage of the actual original legitimate kingdom. They're all trying to claim power through that.
Can I ask, because what it sounds like you're saying, correct me if I'm wrong, there was a time where the Scottish were slaves in Egypt.
Well, if you look at this, Ramses II right? The narrative in the Bible is proven false.
a
It's all
yes?
inverted and messed up. But Ramses II is in fact a red-headed white person, genetically tested. He still has his red hair today. What is it? Cleopatra.
Red hair
also,
doesn't mean
also,
Scottish.
also a white redhead. No, it's not just that. DNA tested from the same people from the northwestern Europe in Scotland and Northern Ireland. Genetically tested. They have the same physical traits, the same skull shape, everything, including genetics.
As
it's
who?
all well proven. As the same people, the same redhead people of Scotland and Northern Ireland. The word slave literally comes from the white Slavs who were blonde haired, but they're close to the redhead of them.
Slavic
redheads and
comes
blonde
from the
connected.
word slave, but I don't
Yeah,
think there's
so-
any. Would you be able to provide any evidence that there were
No.
Scottish people as slaves in Egypt, or that they were the quote unquote original Jews?
It wasn't slavery in Egypt. It wasn't slavery at all. It wasn't what was going on. But I can give
Well, I
examples.
mean that I know that, but that's just because Moses didn't exist.
I'll just say something. The hieroglyphs, as we know it today, all these paintings of skin colors and all these other color on them, that's all been recent vandalism. In the 1950s, I think it was 1954, invasion of Egypt. Shortly before that, they were vandalized and painted over for the Arabs to justify saying that. Where the Egyptians, the people there today, claim that they're the ancient people, it was never believed in the day up until recent times with internet
Do you
propaganda.
have any sources for this at all?
Yeah, piles of sources of all kinds of things. This is
Like
actually
what?
not like some big secret, but I can give some things. Just give me a
It
sec.
must be a big secret because you're the only one who knows it.
No, I'm not the only one who knows it. The problem is this is censored. And, we all know the censor machine's breaking down these days. So a lot of things, people like me are starting to, our messages are starting to get heard. I'm just showing examples of this is like ancient Egyptian stuff. This is actually quite well known. It's not even debatable. It's actually well known. But King Tut is DNA tested. He was, Western European. So the narratives are all lies. There's a lot more I can say on this, but history has been
I will
vandalized far more than
say
people realize.
that heading is someone wrote that. So when it says red hair is exclusively a trait of pure white people, someone on the internet just
Well,
wrote
it
that.
is. No, it actually is.
Sure, but you just made that up.
No, I didn't.
Do you have a source for that besides the infograph that was written by not a scientist?
Yeah, I can show I can show all kinds of. Let's go to my maps. I've got all kinds of stuff you won't believe. I mean, I think it's ridiculous to deny that. Look, everyone except for white people, right, as a group, they're not one group, but it's different groups within white race. Outside the white race, everyone else has black hair and brown eyes.
But-
if they have any other hair or eye color, it either comes from a very red temporary genetic fault that usually ends up being sterile, and they can't pass on that across generations.
I
in
just
the
happened
gene
to be raised
Or-
with a Jewish best friend with red hair.
pool. Or they inherited it in recent times from a recent white ancestor. Like, for example, in Africa, in parts of Africa, they might rarely have blue eyes. The problem is they're not black. They actually have like a recent white ancestor. Unfortunately, they get treated very badly in Africa. They get cannibalized for magic powers or whatever it is. But people misconstrue it. I'll just show you a map. Here's a red hair map.
I will
You can
say
see.
that race is a new creation within the
No, it's not.
past 200 years.
No, it's not. That's
So there
nonsense,
really
dude.
isn't white isn't a biological distinction.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Once again, you're not giving me sources. You're just giving me like.
Well, I am
drawings and
giving you
stuff.
sources. I am giving you sources, and I can give you far more than that. If you want to say race is a social construct, and I think you need to go back to kindergarten. I just showed you a genetic map of red hair.
Sure.
I can show a lot more. Let's go to haplogroups.
I would say if
This is
you
all genetic.
think that race is biological, that you need to
Let's
take
go to
a
haplogroup.
biology 101 course. No offense, and I love you.
Well, I'm the guy who taught the microbiologist behind RK selection theory. I'm more qualified than everyone you've ever met combined. Okay, so
Okay.
don't pull that on me.
Don't
Here's haplogroup
feel
R.
bad when I don't believe you.
Just
but
have a
I
look at
still
this.
heart you.
I'm showing you. These are actually official maps. You can have a look at them yourself.
Sure.
Let's look at the red hair one.
Can you
Look at the
link
red hair one.
Wait, where is this? So this is a picture in what study?
You
Link
can
me
go.
to the
You can
study.
go. You can go look all this up. You can go look this up. There's only so much I can give you. I can give you maps. Is the best way to show you. You can look these maps up. It's all legitimate. You can see the red hair map, right? You can see Scotland and Northern Ireland is, and a little bit of Wales. That's where the predominant area of red hair is today. You see everywhere else, these other places, it goes dark and it stays dark, right? Because this is where red. And you noticed in the east,
And wait,
in
how do
the
you know
Volga
the
River on
Jews
Russia.
weren't Irish? How do you know they weren't? They have red hair.
There were no Jews. The word Jew was created 200 years ago to represent what was actually a liar and a thief. That's
Around
what
the
to Jew
same
someone.
time as race, a Jew was made
That
up.
is no,
What a
and it was,
coincidence.
and it was not a reference. It was not reference to any genetic group. Rather, people hijacked a guild of thieves hijacked other labels and reinvented themselves. So the word Jew wasn't actually a reference to any kind of genetic people. So it was a reference to a basically guild of thieves. Like, play like Skyrim or whatever it is, and there's like a guild of thieves. It was like that. It wasn't a genetic people. But some of them started
When
identifying
you
as
say
a genetic
Guild of
people.
Thieves, I get the feeling you mean different religion than me. Like
But
you just mean
most of them aren't even religious. They swap between identities all over the place. They just whatever suits their agenda to get.
most of them in America are secular and liberal, which is a good thing. We want Christians to go this way. We want Muslims. We want them to stop being religious.
I'll give you an example, just to
Okay.
show that they're not a genetic group.
Mm-hmm.
1 second, I'll just go find.
I'm waiting for like one that ends in edu.
So look, if you want to say Jews are a race, let's have a look at this. Tell me. Look, here's four different. You just see on the chat there, side text chat. Here's 4 different categories of so-called Jews, and the greatest, about half of them identify as one category called Ashkenazi. Only a small few of them actually are, right? And they're the actual redheads.
I hate to say
tiny
this,
number of them.
but all 4 are Jews, the real Jews. And do you know why? If they
They look
call
like the same race.
themselves Jews, they are
Okay.
real Jews. And if you disagree with them, it's a new true Scotsman fallacy.
Okay, is these Abiyadea Jews, right?
Mhm.
Do you see them on the top left?
I sure do.
Are they the same genetic people as the bottom right?
Probably not.
So are they a genetic group or not?
They are not a genetic group, no.
With the top left one, they just look like black people to me. Do they look like black people
Do
to
you
you?
know what a religion is? You know you can convert to a religion.
I've created
It's
my
not
own
a-
religion. Actually, I created my religion. But on the topic, the
I'm sure
top
all
left, do they
religions
just
are
look like?
created.
Do they look like Jews or do they look like black people?
They look like black Jews. You don't think black people can
They
be
look-
Jews? You think there's something
Okay,
that holds
so
them back?
if you have black people in the top left, Asian people in the top right, Arabs in the bottom left, and white passing Arabs in the bottom right, are these somehow the same genetic group of people? They're the same race, are they?
No, you know that religion's not a race, right? I mean, race
Well-
is a social construct, and honestly,
Well, no,
religion is too, funny
that's not
enough.
true. That's not true. See, these people, all these people identify as the same one genetic race, right? A race. They're the only race that exists, and they say that my race is a social construct. They only say that to my people, the actual Abrahamic people. We don't exist, but somehow they're a race. But then when they talk about us, our race is a social construct.
you're
The double
not
standard
Abrahamic.
lies there.
Like you can be a
Well,
true Jew if
yeah,
you
okay.
want. That's fine.
Well, why don't you go look at the genetic traits of King David? I can show you right now. You can look. I'd rather
Is
you
it
look this
going
up.
to
but I
end
can
in an
say-
actual URL? Like you're going to show me a scientific study?
I can give you a link to what the Bible says about
Okay.
King David's traits.
I don't know if I really care about the Bible, but sure.
I'll just give you more. I'll give you actual Bible references.
But why would you? The Bible thinks Moses and they think talking snakes are true. Why would you quote the Bible?
It doesn't.
They think
It doesn't
a
matter.
man came back from the
It doesn't
dead.
matter. I'll tell you why. Because those who identify as Jews are claiming to be those people in that Bible, and this is where they claim all the claim of all the money they siphon from my people and every white country, all the claims on the land that they're occupying right now, and on both sides in that land, they were both lying. I don't support any side. However, all their possessions that they have now that they're hoarding, massive amounts of ridiculous amounts of money and power in my people's governments and everything. And I can show my politicians resisting them and fighting them in my own government. Don't say that's a conspiracy theory. It's extensively documented from the very top.
No, it's true. There is funding that goes to Israel in different countries, and
Not
I'm
just
not
funding,
really
not just
sure
funding.
we should fund Palestine or Israel
No,
because
I
I'm not
know,
really
I'm
a
not just
big
talking
fan
about funding.
of holy wars or the religious right, which is in control
Like-
of both of those groups.
I'm in Australia, okay? And Bob Carr is a very important political figure in my country. And he wrote a book and he's gone on many interviews. We're talking about resisting what he calls the Israel lobby. How not only are they siphoning my country and many other countries for ridiculous amounts of money, that's bad enough. But what he's complaining about, and many others from the highest level of politics, is they have total control over the very government. They dictate everything to the government, and anyone who resists them gets taken out and attacked and blah
They
blah
are.
blah.
In fact, when this episode's end, Mossad is gonna be looking at you. I'll tell you.
Okay, it's all right because I'm the one person they're afraid of. Let me show you.
You
who I
are
am.
the
I'm
Messiah.
I'm also the founder of Anonymous. Many other things. I've survived hundreds of assassinations by these all on camera. Have a look in the chat here. This is what I deal with on a regular basis. This is who I am.
No.
I'm the one with the goods. I'm the one with the evidence, and I think you should be very careful about calling racial social construct when you damn well know that everyone knows that's not true, and that's an act of genocide against. If you look at the definition of genocide, denying
Terrible
one's race
genocide.
is genocide. Denying one's race, one's legitimate race, is genocide. So
When
denying the
you
white race
point out
exists.
biological facts, it's the same thing as shooting someone in the face. I mean, I can't
Well,
argue. with that.
if race isn't biological and genetic, then why is it that I can do a DNA test and it can tell me what race I am?
It can't. It can tell you where
Yes,
you
it
came
can.
from on the planet, and there are thousands of ethnic groups. There are not the races. The word white, you're not white. Your skin changes. It's the one
You don't get
organ.
to tell me what I am.
Okay,
You
I'm
don't get to
sorry.
tell me what I am.
You identify as white, but biologically, that's stupid.
Okay, if I was to get like a 2-year-old toddler of any given race, right, and I say, if I get all kinds of adults from different races, we've got a black man and a white woman. Do you think they could tell a man from a woman?
A man from a woman. Yeah, based on secondary characteristics, I think they could say this person.
What do you mean
based on
secondary
femininity.
characteristics?
Secondary characteristics means they have long hair, they're wearing dresses, they're wearing makeup. If they're shirtless, they have tight abs.
What about the shape of their body? What about their boobs, for example?
Yeah, they may have boobs.
Their skull structure, their faces, especially their faces, are shaped very differently. If you just showed them the face, they could tell a man from a woman. Would you agree?
No. Well, I guess it depends
Do you
on
really
what you
think
mean.
that children? Do you really think that children can't tell a man from a woman? They're hardwired
If
to.
You are
They
a
were hardwired with it.
transgender woman and you start hormones.
There's no such thing as a
before-
transgender. That's it. A
I mean,
transgender
there's
is
no
a
such
psychotic
thing as a
being.
god, but we're still talking, baby.
There's no such thing as transgender. There's only two genders, or sex is a better word for it. Male and female. Anything else is
Can I ask,
psychotic.
is your God a heavenly father? And please say
I don't have a god.
You don't have.
I am the Father that Jesus referred to. I'm not Yahweh. I'm not Jesus. Jesus referred to
Keeps
me
on
as
topping
someone different.
himself.
He's
Like, I
actually
can't- how
criticized
can you talk
Yahweh.
about
He's
it?
against
He's
Yahweh.
God. Well, I will say I'm honored to be talking with God. You're not a god, right? You're the
I never
God.
claimed to be God, or I never claimed to be God or a God.
What did you just say? Does God exist?
Yeah, as
Yes
I've wrote
or
said
no?
in the chat, 2-year-olds are not doctors, yet a 2-year-old can tell a male from a female with stunning accuracy. In the same way, they can tell black people from white people. They can if they were to put people in the groups that they belong, they can put men with women, they can put blacks with blacks and whites with whites. If a toddler can do that, then maybe you're the problem. Maybe you have deliberately self-made delusions on identity, and you're trying to delete my identity, and it makes you an enemy to all life. I think you need to think. All of you need to think very carefully about saying things like race is a social construct. If you look at what's going on in the UK right now, what you're saying is false. You know it's false, and there's going to be consequences of that. And I think you need to think very carefully about what you've been doing and pushing.
Okay,
because it's
but
not
if
true.
you take
You know,
a sociology, a psychology, or a biology class, they will tell you that race is a social construct.
these same classes, these leftoid classes of nonsense, will also tell you that men can have babies. They can tell you that you can change your race, age, species, age. Can I identify these same pieces, these same corrupt ideologies that took over educational institutions, and they're all basically found. They're all being kicked out right now, and it's all proven knowledge. These same people would say that you can change your race, age, species, everything. So I can be a 68-year-old dolphin alien, according to them.
I mean, it makes as much sense as someone saying they are the Messiah.
Well, I actually have evidence of that. Do you? Do you have evidence of your alternate genders and all this crap that you're saying? Race is a social construct. Can you prove that race is a social construct?
Yes. Not only is race and gender, both are social constructs. We do not. Okay. So within biology, we don't use the term white, black. By the way, I
Yeah.
love how it goes.
No,
white,
you just
black,
debunked yourself.
Asian.
There is no way. You are not a biologist. I actually have history. I taught a leading biologist called Anonymous Conservative. The guy responsible
what
for
is
making
your academic background? You said you're a
academic.
what's your degrees in?
I've actually taught a variety of professors. I showed you an example of a microbiologist,
I bet.
example of the guy responsible for making archaea selection
Do
theory
you have
famous.
associates, a bachelor's in biology? Do you
I
have
have
any
more. I
medical
have more
training?
qualifications than you can possibly imagine, but I do not have any government approval. Officially, I don't exist. I used to be a former international spy. Among many other things, I said I'm the founder of Anonymous. I am many things,
This
and I have
person
many
is not well.
qualifications, and I can actually show the
I
goods.
think
I don't go to some indoctrination school and get a certificate saying the government approves of me. That's not a qualification. That's an indoctrination, and that's a conspiracy by nature.
Well,
It's
I
not a
had
qualification.
no idea you went to the University of Basement. You should have said that from the beginning.
I pioneered AI that people are using today. I have history with MIT, people in MIT and DARPA and all kinds
It's
of
like
things.
Trump. I should go there.
But I don't go to university. I'm self-taught like every irrelevant
Did you-
person. Every relevant person who actually invented things meaningful, they didn't go to university.
You were giving TED Talks at MIT, right? The professors were listening to you.
No, I don't do TED Talks. I don't think most people watch TED Talks anymore, dude.
Oh my
It has a
god.
very bad reputation for a good reason.
I
It's
mean,
still going.
they're just spreading misinformation, those evil TED Talks.
Not universally, but have you seen the kind of stuff that they cover?
I do. I love TED Talks. What's up, Beamsy? What's
Well,
up, everyone?
one
I
final
haven't said
message to
hi
all.
to a lot of people.
If you're
in hours.
gonna spew propaganda like this, look at where the winds of the world are changing, and the upset people, pushing this alternate gender stuff, pushing this races of circles of construct stuff. You know it's not true, and you're weaponizing this, and you're pissing a lot of people off. And I think you need to think very carefully about the imminent consequences of the change with Donald Trump being elected. Surviving that assassination attempt, the riots in the UK, the world is going into chaos for a reason, and I think you need to be very careful that you should be on the right side of things and not push these lies.
The world is not.
You have no
going into
proof of
chaos.
what you're saying about
Trump
all these
is a
topics.
degenerate, a con artist, and a criminal.
Really?
Yes.
Are you willing to face the consequences of saying that?
Yes.
Okay, because we'll play that back to you when the day comes.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
You don't know what that feeds. It's a free country. I could say that.
Oh, well, people like you don't believe in freedom. You don't even know what freedom is, do you?
I'm a liberal. No, we're the ones who
No,
actually
you're not.
give these societies. Oh, we're not.
What is your contribution?
What is my
What have you given?
contribution?
What have you given
like,
society?
Personally, you don't want to go there because what I do
Yeah,
for a
just nothing.
living, I extremely okay. Well, I mean, I am both a professor and my day job is that I
What is your
am a
qualification?
second grade autism teacher.
What do you profess?
I teach information technology, so I teach both web design and the presentation.
You
of
have websites you actually make, because I make websites.
I do.
What kind of websites?
So HTML, CSS, JavaScript, PHP, databasing.
Really? CSS?
Yes. Makes everything colorful.
No, it doesn't.
What? I feel like that
If you
was
look at- if you
very
look at people
contrary.
who can make-
Did you just say CSS?
People who actually have people like myself who actually have web skills. We avoid CSS as much as possible. Sometimes you're forced to use certain things, but there's a reason why.
What? I feel
Are
like
you
this
able to
is-
screenshot and
I
show?
feel like
any of
this
your
is too
websites?
technical of a debate.
Are
for
you
my
able to
audience,
show
and
any
yet
of your
this is
own web
painful for
designs?
me.
Are you able to show any of your web designs? And on a question on that, what kind of editors do you use?
I use Notepad++, but I guess I could use Dreamweaver.
You make
or-
websites in Notepad, do you?
Well, Notepad++, but I guess if you force me, I
How do you
can
work
do
with
it in
tables?
Notepad.
How do you work with tables in Notepad? I mean, it's not impossible, but
You mean like inserting things into a database and using
how
SQL?
do you work with? Do you know what a table is?
I know
like
what
every
a
website you
table
take?
is. Not only do I know what a table, but I know how to make tables attractive into heat maps so that we can.
And how do
present
you
them in my
navigate editing a
presentations.
table in Notepad?
Once again, I just know how to work through arrays, and I know how to work through
I'm
a
talking
table
about.
within a database.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about tables.
Okay,
If there's one
so-
reason why you need to use a proper web page editor, it's tables.
What
It's a
web page
tables are a
editor do you
grid.
use?
Tables are basically a grid where you can change the width and height of each cell and fill it in with whatever content. It's very hard to make a web page half decent at that without a table. And if you don't know, you can't just naturally just work with table code just by looking at the code. It doesn't work that way. I don't care how competent you want to claim you are. It just doesn't work that way. You need a user interface, like a graphical user interface. You need to be able to see what you're editing and click it on there.
Yeah,
Split
rows
screen.
and columns. I would generally use things like arrays, but yes, you can separate
So
things
columns.
out.
How
and
do you
things
navigate the columns in
nicely.
raw code?
Once again, you would manipulate them using HTML. If you're
What is
doing it.
the code? What is the HTML code for a column?
Once again, I have to look it up. What is the HTML code for a column?
Column and
Look
rows.
it up. Well, you want me to bring up W3?
It's TD and TR basically.
TR, and then yes, and then each one would be a line.
I don't think you make websites at all, dude.
Div class row, div class column. Rating columns. HTML row table. HTML tables.
You don't even know the HTML code for columns and rows on a table, and you're editing tables in raw text. Really, I don't believe you.
Yes.
I don't believe you, dude. I don't think anyone
Okay.
believes you.
Can I ask, why do you think CSS, which main primary purpose is coloring things, why do you not think it has anything to do with it?
Well, for the same reason why the old HTML codes that were supposed to have been removed will never be removed officially as an official statement, because people like me are actually competent and make websites the way they're supposed to be without malignant code, that is. It's because CSS was the result of a conspiracy to hijack and take over web standards. This is also connected to the banning of the illegitimate banning of Flash, for example. It was a way to kill the competition and enforce malignant code on websites that can be harvested to harvest personal data and all kinds of dodgy crap, and including hacking of websites. It's actually a massive vulnerability. Certain types of CSS, not the independent inside the page CSS, but the other page where you refer to another file and stuff like that. It's very inferior to the alternatives, but through a conspiracy, it was forced as a new standard. So in order to justify it being used in this conspiracy with massive resistance against it, they added a couple of insignificant features, and who knows why they banned marquees in the process. I think they re-edited them along the way because of the complaints. But the existence of CSS, it was inferior crap with a lot of vulnerabilities, and it was pushed because of a conspiracy to monopolize and redefine web standards for a bunch of corrupt conspirators.
Okay. Anyway, that's not why CSS was made. It sounds like
Yes,
you're putting
it was.
everything. It sounds like you're putting everything in one large HTML document, and you're like, I'm not going to change or update. It's a big conspiracy. But when you separate things out,
Well, no,
into
I don't do that
CSS,
because I also
when
I
you
don't do that because I
separate
actually work.
things out into CSS, it allows us to call it from a reference so that we can actually color and style thousands, hundreds, if not thousands of pages, and not have to edit each individual website. My Lord.
You can just define that, do you? One tiny file hiding in one tiny folder can be called upon, and that tiny file is compromised. Your whole website's compromised. You can hijack an entire website with one tiny file because of CSS.
You can hijack the coloring.
No,
Is that
you can
what you're
hijack
saying?
a lot worse than that, dude.
What is
And as for-
stored in
and as for-
CSS
and
that
as
is
for-
worth hacking? Give it to me.
And as for already talking about something else. And as for other external content like Flash, for example, I still use Flash today. I make Flash games, Flash programs, Flash all kinds of stuff. In fact, my own website has a Flash section that still works to this day.
I'm sorry. Did you just say? And I saw someone loving in chat. I used to love Flash, but you know the reason they discontinued Flash is because of all the security vulnerabilities, right?
No.
I mean,
I've been using Flash for several decades, dude.
oh,
I know
I bet
exactly
you
what happened.
have. It sounds like you have not
I'll
updated.
tell you why. I will tell you why. No, Flash has actually been. It's all coming back. It's all functioning again. Actually.
Oh, it's coming back, huh?
No, yes, it is. It's actually widely used to this day. Websites like Newgrounds are still working today.
Yeah, it's not supported.
Yes,
by
it
the
is.
actual company making
Yes, it is. Once you look it up, it actually is now. So as for the Flash being shut down for the same reason connected to the hijacking of web standards, this is why there's so many malware attacks, is because of these new web standards are designed for the purpose of spying on people's personal information and hacking them through backdoors. It's full of backdoors. So Flash was banned for the same reason. It was bought out by Adobe for the purpose of shutting down the competition. It's PDFs and all these PDFs are the most insecure file format that's ever conceived of.
PDFs.
Never open your PDF. Yes, PDF. Yes, PDFs, and PDFs are used by every government.
PDF. Oh my god! I don't understand.
For a start, the
anything that
metadata
he's
can
saying.
run all kinds of malicious code, and they will never even bother fixing it. Or every government runs PDFs by default, and Flash was a threat to the competition. Flash was always superior. It was a threat to competition. So what happened was Adobe bought out Flash from Macromedia, and then tried to make back a chunk of the money it cost to buy it out with the purpose of shutting it down, which they did, and this was widely acknowledged. The so-called security flaws, they deliberately added one security flaw, misconstrued it, and all these claims about security flaws were completely unfounded and misconstrued not what was actually going on, which was deliberately put there in the first place. The only real serious security flaw was fixed a long time ago, even in ActionScript 2.0, which was when you have a Flash file that refers to a file somewhere else. They blocked it from accessing cross domain. So basically, that Flash file would not allow you to go to run code from somewhere else. It would only allow you to run code from the same folder that it's in.
How does an image file, which is what a PDF is, how is it vulnerable?
I just told you. The metadata, for example, runs malicious code that you can't stop. Go look at PDF.
Where's the malicious code come from? Just people are able to hide.
I just told you.
Code. Wait, how do they hide code in an image?
You can force code in all kinds of ways in PDFs, and it is a huge vulnerability.
It's a giant conspiracy, just like CSS
It is a giant
conspiracy.
It is a giant conspiracy. You know what a bigger conspiracy is? The LGBT agenda, the transgender crap.
It is. It's
White genocide, Jews and Muslims conspiring against white people for white genocide, the immigrant invasion of white countries. You're going to call me silly names like racist, sexist. Look at what's going on in the UK right now. Look at what's going on in the USA. You want to call Donald Trump all these silly names? Are you willing to own the consequences that you're on the wrong side of history? You're wrong. You have less than 1% of people ever agreed with this crap that you're pushing. 99.9% of people have always disagreed with it, and they've been silenced up until recently. Enough is enough, to the point where people are starting to write over, and they're voting. All the institutions you've infected are all being ratted out.
Just to be very clear, you are racist, sexist, homophobic, transphobic, Islamophobic, and anti-Semitic. Nonetheless, I don't care about calling you any of those things, because I know it would spend the entire conversation trying to get you to define those things.
Well, I can. I can define those things.
Can I break it down? Okay, let me break it down, and then you can defend it. It all boils down to a single word: being an asshole.
I'm a dick. I'm a dick. You're an asshole. You're an asshole. I'm a dick. Difference.
But I'm not a dick to you. I want to be nice to you.
No, you're not a dick. You're an asshole. I'm a dick. It's in the Team America movie. If you look up, Dick's Pussy is an asshole.
I get you. Yeah, I love
I'm a
Team
dick.
America.
You're an asshole. And there's pussies in the chat. But look, Islamophobia. There's no such thing as Islamophobia. If you're going to defend Islam, then
I know
you're
you're
going to defend
deny all of
Islam.
them. I don't care.
If anyone's going to accuse me of Islamophobia, then by definition you are a pedophile and terrorist because Islam teaches invasion, genocide, pedophilia, terrorism. It's not just recommended or in little places. Every single page, it is commanded under threat of beheading.
It's true. If you're just a normal liberal Muslim, you gotta just
every single Muslim is a terrorist and a pedophile.
Every single
by
one.
definition.
Every single one. Just like
every
Jew
single
and
one.
every,
And I can tell you why, because if you follow a book that has a list of 10 commandments on it, and those 10 commandments all involve telling you to invade people's country, to rape, genocide, blah, 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 right? And then you claim, I follow this book and its commandments, and that's what the commandments say to do in crystal black and white terms on every single page, then you are those things those commandments do. If that commands you to do
And
all those crimes like pedophilia and terrorism, that makes you a pedophile and a terrorist, does it not?
If you follow a book that says take slaves from the nations around you, then you are an immoral degenerate. And you should probably be.
No, if there's books in different religions that talk about past events that don't apply today, but with Islam, these are commandments that apply today and all time. The Bible has a narrative of, I don't agree with it all, but the Bible has a narrative of some messed up things that happened in the past, but these are not commandments for today. This is just a historical record of what happened. With Islam, it's different. Everything in there it's just a list of commands. It's not a historical narrative. It's a list of commands. So anyone who wants to defend Islam should be treated and will be treated as an active combatant in war, as no differently than an ISIS member, because that's what they are.
I call it when people make those type of threats. It's like the
Do you agree? Do you agree?
No,
The
rascal scooter revolution is just around the corner any day now. But no, I do not like Islam, I do not like Judaism, and I do not like Christianity. And yet Jews, Christians, and Muslims are my brothers and sisters, and I will treat them well, and I will defend their right to have their faith. Yes, they
do. You agree with me on Islam? If you follow a book that in every page commands you to do these vile criminal things, that makes you a criminal of those crimes.
I think that they do the same mental gymnastics as all other religious people, that when they see something bad, they skip it, and when they see something good, they say, faith.
I've got a question for you then. Have you ever seen a single Christian who does acts of terrorism and mass rapes, like in Germany, where 2,000 Muslim men raped 1,500 white women while quoting the Quran while they did it in one night in Germany, New Year's Eve in Germany? Have you ever seen any Christians rape, behead, and mass murder and suicide bomb anyone while quoting commandments in the Bible to say to do it?
I'll
not a single one.
forgive you for not being an American, because abortion clinics are bombed all the time here. And the Confederacy, very specifically, the main difference between the Confederate Constitution and the United States Constitution beyond slavery is that the Confederate Constitution explicitly says that it is a Christian nation under God.
That doesn't have nothing to do with my question. Has anyone ever done these crimes while quoting a commandment in the Bible for them to do it?
Yes.
Ever in the history of Christianity?
Quoted the Bible, yes.
Show a single example quote in the Bible where they've ever quote. Where's the quote in the Bible that they're quoting?
Within Genesis, within Exodus, within Leviticus.
These books, Genesis and Exodus are historical narratives, and none of them are commandments and have ever been perceived by anyone as commandments to do anything.
So when it says they can take slaves from the nations around you, is that a metaphor?
This is a historical narrative to a different group of people, and it does not apply to Christians today. In fact, that's why we have a New Testament, that it separates itself from those old rules. The whole point of the Bible is there are these old rules that didn't work, and now we're under new rules.
Sure, and that's why the Ten Commandments are needed.
There are no Ten Commandments.
There are no.
There's a list of commandments that change in different places, but there's no 10 commandments, and there's no commandment to do these things.
Have you read the Bible?
I know the Bible extensively.
That was a weird
I've
way.
debated world-leading scholars on that, and I never lose a single debate.
All right, Taryn, I think in a second, because I have to go to bed because I have to wake up early tomorrow. So in a second, I am going to hand it over for you to just say like a final sentence, and then
show me a single example where anyone has ever quoted a commandment to the follower of today to do those crimes.
Once again,
you're saying Genesis, Exodus never happened. It's not true. You're lying. And there's nothing in those books that commands anyone today to do anything like that. And it's never been misconstrued as such ever. It's not open for confusion. No one has ever done that. Every single day, I'll just give you one thing and I'll put it in the chat. I'll go to 1 second. The religionofpeace.com. I'll get you
I
a
already know
statistic
this.
right
You're
now.
talking to an atheist. You don't have to convince me not to believe in Islam. I want to convince you to treat Muslims well.
I'll treat them how they deserve.
Okay. If there is
I'm going to get an image right now.
But if there is a little Muslim girl in a store, you're not going to say mean things to her as she passes by, sort of degenerate shit like that?
I don't believe in speaking to Muslims. Why would I speak to them?
Man, this is why I don't like religion.
Look in the chat. Look in the chat.
This is the last
Anyone who
thing.
wants to defend this, join them. You join them, and go look at the flood that's happening in the world. Just brace yourself for justice and consequences, because this evil, perverted filth is in its final moments, and I'll be at the front lines. Bye bye.
Lines, baby. Thank you so much, Taryn. It was still good talking with you. We'll have more conversations in the future. All right. I was going to wait for a second, but I don't know if he was going to agree with me. All right. I think we're going to wrap it up here. This has been Convince an Atheist on the PNR Discord. I am sending love to PNR and everyone who joined us. And we will continue doing more great conversations. I hope you all have a great weekend. That was tough. I saw some of you in the comments that it was getting tough for too. I don't disagree with you. He got me all flustered when I forgot about fucking TRTD, how to make a fucking simple fucking row and column that I probably kept him on longer. And yet he called CSS a conspiracy. He said Flash. We all know why Flash. Maybe people don't know, because Flash used to be amazing. I was a Newgrounds fan. But that's why it was taken down, ladies and gentlemen, because it is has a lot of security holes that can be exploited. And I am just baffled how PDF, the joke used to be PDF, what it sounds like. And somehow QAnon has made that into a real conspiracy. All right. He also said he was the Messiah, right? We all heard he was the Messiah. I think he said at one point he was God, but I was just, my brain was, I think, fried at that point. My goodness. But y'all, I think we're coming to the end of this. I see AC, Blaster Master, Binio, Rachel, what's up? Mwah, Rachel, Limp Wrist, Beamsy, Fenton, everybody in there. DBK, thanks for the comment, and Beamsy and Blaster Master and everybody. Kettle, if I didn't say hi to you, say hi to me. BTF Wayne, and I'll say goodbye at the ending music. We were in a little bit of a limbo. This was very cathartic, as you know, as Off the Rails is the last. He also teaches professors. Okay, he may not have a degree. He may. My goodness. But we had some good conversations. The atheists, we even had a good back and forth, and then Catholic traditionalists at the beginning. I'm going to try and move us out of limbo. We were in limbo for the past week or two. That was a combination, like I said, of the things we talked about. I'm in such a good mood now, I almost don't want to talk about it. But I'm going to continue sending love out there. My brother from another mother, James W. I hope he's doing well. And I love you all. This is the Skeptic and Ranting community. I may do more stuff like this, but without the cam, because it's just easier and faster for me to get on. And so it'll be more content. and then maybe do some cam stuff and stuff. But with that, I think this has been our Convincing Atheist. Please don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, hit all those. Oh, the other thing I forgot. I think I'm going to. I have to rework because of my negligence. I need to update things. We're going to update things with the Patreon, the channel membership, and all of that. I want to reinvigorate it. We may be doing shout outs moving towards the end of things, or even a longer shout out at the end, and maybe separating that out from a quick shout out at the beginning, because I want to get. I was afraid of how long our old content took to get to something. So often took 45 minutes to an hour just for us to watch the video. Now we ranted and it was entertaining. We talk about stuff and we try to stay on topic and things. But I don't know. I want to figure out ways to get better content for you. But Azo, Chris Disciple, Dale Pastel, Davegar, Rachel Holen, Ian Davenport, and Regis, thank you so very much. Thank you to everyone hanging out with us in chat and everyone who hit that bell icon to all so they can join us during our premiere and our live streams. Ba-da-ba-ba. Or, hey, why not leave a comment once the video is done? After the show, the Skeptic and Ranting Discord server is down below if you'd like to join, along with our channel members, as well as all of our Patrons, which can be found at patreon.com/Amy Newman. I am Amy Newman. And, oh my, always, let's see. Anyone live? Let's see. Who? Go check out Dark Matter 2525. Small little channel. Oh, here we go. The line, should we believe in God, with Forrest and Matt. What better content to send you to? And they are going live in 12 minutes. I see my Calasia over there and other fantastic people. So there we go. If you want something, nonetheless, I am Amy Newman, and we will see you all the next episode of. Oh, Ember goes live. I was supposed to respond. Ember just sent me a text the other day. Gosh, Ember, if you see this, I'm so sorry. Yes, Ember goes live as well as 12 minutes. Go check them out. They are fantastic. And I love you all. More fun stuff upcoming. This is not the end. This is just a new beginning. I love you all. Mwah! I love you all. Good night.